Welcome everybody back into NerdSesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradford. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and you already know the drill. It's Sunday night, so we've got a whole lot of football to talk about today. We're going to be giving our thoughts on every single game of today's slate of Week 7 action, and we'll start, Logan, with the nightcap. An interesting matchup, two pretty good teams, and we end up getting a game that's pretty competitive and interesting down to the finish. It's a win for the San Francisco 49ers over the Falcons, Logan. They now improve to 5-2 on the year. What did you take away from how they got this one done?
I mean, the biggest thing about this win to me for San Francisco was about their defense and how great they looked. Robert Saleh being back in the building, I think has made just such a huge difference to, just how this defense is played. They're down, arguably two defensive player of the year caliber players, and it doesn't feel like they're missing a beat out there tonight. You got third string and fourth string guys stepping up. That next man up mentality, man. And I'm just a firm believer that Saleh can take whoever on defense and he can turn them into a competent group and somebody that can win you a football game. I mean, that's what this is a testament to me about with this game with San Francisco. His ability to coach up the defense and really just the resiliency of this San Francisco 49ers organization. Like, you're down Brock Purdy. You've got Mac Jones backing up again, and this team is now 5-2. If you had told me the laundry list of injuries they would have sustained through 7 weeks of football, I'd say they're under 500. Like, it's a testament to coaching and the ability to game plan, but especially their defense, man, missing so many key guys to shut down a unit that has a ton of talent. I'm blown away, man. I can't believe that the Niners have been this resilient. And McCaffrey, too. I mean, you got to mention him through this hot start. Yeah. He's like the, steadying factor, but it's the resiliency of the Niners, man. It's unbelievable to me that they're 5-2 with all these injuries they've had.
It's pretty incredible, and I think it's a testament to the brilliance of Kyle Shanahan, which we talk about a lot, but I do think that he's just flat out the best coach in football. His ability to always make the most out of whatever he has available to him is incredible. What we've seen him get out of Mac Jones in some of the more pass-heavy performances that they've had, even down pretty much all of their best receiving targets. But in this game, it is the run game. They lean heavy on CMC, and it was a phenomenal game plan executed phenomenally. Like, CMC is obviously a guy with whom you always have some concerns about the potential for injury, but when he is on the field, like, they will lean on him so heavy and he will fully embrace that. And like, his role in the offense is just as massive as it can get. This was his 11th game with 25 or more touches since he joined the Niners. Almost one in every 3 games he hits that mark. It was his 4th game with 30 or more touches. And it's not just that he's heavily relied upon in the run game, obviously, and that was their identity and objective for this whole game. Like, he's their number 1 receiver out there today. He gives you 7 catches for 72 yards. He is the guy who puts you in position to ice the game. 3rd and 13, makes a big catch. And then the very next play, he also punches in the ridiculous extra effort run. So it's those two, what they do for your offense. Also, you have to shout out the return of George Kittle. Even if he doesn't have like a monster box score performance, and he really doesn't, he has 0 catches in this game. Nevertheless, you feel his impact in the run game, and his blocking there is so exceptional. I went and I just pulled up some numbers. Since 2019, when George Kittle plays, the Niners average almost a yard per carry more. They average 4.7 yards per attempt when he's in the game. When he plays, they average 3.9 without him, and their offense averages about 4 points per game more. So even though we had seen them find ways to win without him this year, I do think that he helps them really establish the run at that high level. And then absolutely, you started with the defense. Like, Robert Saleh is one of the MVPs of this season for the Niners up to this point, because yes, they have gotten all the juice they can out of their offense, but they haven't been some dynamic, like, signature Shanahan Niners top 5 scoring offense. No, they've just been doing enough to get by, and their defense has given them margin there. And this is a defense that last year was one of the worst in football. They were 30th in points allowed per drive. And then they lost Nick Bosa, and then they lost Fred Warner. And for Saleh to have this group way better than last year without those 2 players It's mind-boggling. They're 10th in points allowed per drive this year. They've been a very good defense. I thought that he called a hell of a game, disguising pressures, simulating pressures, just giving Penix a lot of different looks. And overall, just getting this very young and pretty inexperienced and unheralded group, really, when you look at a lot of the names who are starting for this defense, he's got them playing aggressive, downhill, containing the run game really effectively, which is always priority one when you're going up against Bijan and the Falcons, and they did that extremely well. They balled them up to 14 carries for 40 yards. I mean, he had more of an impact in the passing game, but as a runner, they really kept him in check. And then you've got the secondary playing buttoned up and like breaking on the ball and making some plays there. And again, you look at the guys who are stepping up, and it's like Tatum Bethune, who is suddenly stepping up to have to fill in for Fred Warner, and he's making plays in a number of different ways, rushing the passer in spots, getting downhill in the run game, playing in coverage pretty well. You've got Chase Lucas, shout out ASU legend. I covered him in college, stepping up at corner, making some plays. He makes a big fourth down stop, PBU. Like, these guys are former 7th rounders, and they are just being put in these crucial positions, and they're executing. And I do think that that is a testament to coaching above all else. Props to Bryce Huff too, because they have just needed like somebody who can make an impact as a pass rusher so badly. They have found ways to scheme around the absence of Bosa and still put together a pretty good defense while being really low in pressure rate. But he made some big impact plays as a pass rusher today. So we've said it so many times this year, but I don't think there's another coaching staff in football that's 5-2 with all of the major injuries that they've had, with the talent they have actually had on the football field. It's so damn impressive. Every week I feel like I'm impressed by the Niners. Now, the problem is, as much as I would like to say, oh, well, because they're doing so well in spite of all these key absences, ultimately they're going to be some contender. Like, I just don't know that I can get there because Bosa's obviously out for the year. The Warner injury is so serious. Like, I just don't know that we can really bank on things getting better on the injury front, as bad as it is. But for them to be in a spot where you feel like this team is going to be in the playoffs, this team would be in the playoffs even if they rode all the way home with Mac Jones. Like, Shanahan's doing a hell of a job. Salah's doing a hell of a job. And the coach of the year battle this year is so fun, man. Like, we'll talk about Shane Steichen, what he's done with the Colts later on. I do think that he is the front runner because he has them playing like the best team in football, and literally nobody expected that. But Shanahan is also making the case of just finding a way every week, no matter how many dead bodies there are on his roster.
Yeah, and I think that's the big selling point with San Francisco. I wouldn't pick them to do any damage in the playoffs right now, but I feel like any week, any given game, San Francisco could beat anybody. Like, they are so well prepared. They always have the right game plan. Like, and I want to give extra credit to Saleh. Like, you look at the state of the Jets right now, and no hate to Aaron Glenn. I like him as a coach. I think he's going to find his way, and I think the Jets are going to figure it out. I don't think they're 0-7 bad. I don't think they're as bad as their record says, but I do think it's a testament to the fact that you see how Saleh had them playing for 2 to 3 years with the worst quarterback play in football, and they are basically near 500. And then the second they get rid of him, that team is falling apart. And it's not like they've lost all of the talent they've had. They've still got a lot of the, cornerstones that they had from, you had guys making Pro Bowl and all pro teams with those defenses, and he comes back. I think he's brilliant. And I always felt that he was kind of shortchanged and scapegoated in New York. I would like to see him get another opportunity. Like, I think he is really great as a defensive coordinator, but I still think Saleh could do it as a head coach, man. I'm upset that we never got to see him with really high-level QB play. That being said, now that he's back in this role, he is flourishing, and he just rings that towel, man. He gets the most out of his talent everywhere he goes. That's the guy I've been most impressed with, just with his circumstances. Not that, Shanahan's dealing with that similarly on the offensive side of the ball, but again, 2 defensive player of the year caliber guys, not to mention all the losses that we talked about throughout the offseason, right? Losing Greenlaw, losing Hufanga. Those weren't little losses. They were really big. And Saleh's got these guys running 10 points tonight, man, against a uber talented Falcons offense.
Yeah, obviously he threatened my life, and I have to hold that against him.
Fair,
to some extent,
fair.
But Other than that, he's a pretty bang-up guy, man. I mean, he's acing the test this year. And like you say, I also thought that he was very much a scapegoat with the Jets last year. I think they went through every scapegoat they possibly could without realizing that the problem was a fella named Woody Johnson running the whole operation, or that he's been the biggest problem for them for decades. But yeah, I mean, the Jets defense fell off after he left last year, and it hasn't been a good defense this year. They're like a bottom 5 scoring defense, in spite of the fact that, like you said, they have a lot of the same talent. He inherited a terrible defense there, and he turned them around like that. Like, he is really one of the best at what he does, and I think it's just been phenomenal for the Niners to get him back in that role. So San Francisco just continues to take care of business. They continue to put themselves in a good position to make a playoff push. On the flip side of this, Logan, what are you thinking about the Atlanta Falcons right now, who have had a real roller coaster of a season? They got 30-pieced by the Panthers. They bounced back. They get a Monday Night Football win over the Bills last week, and now they sputter a little bit in this one. Where do you stand with them?
They're funny, man. But they're like funny in a kind of phony way. Atlanta's got a lot going for them, a lot that I like. They have a really talented defense, and they're also really well coached. I'm super impressed with Jeff Ulbricht's been able to do with this defense in one, offseason, him coming over. Also, former head coach of the New York Jets, Jeff Ulbricht, shout out.
True.
What he did, Caden Ellis has been balling this year, like the level of pressure he's been able to get. And obviously Atlanta invested heavily in that position in the draft too. But now that you're reaping benefits from it, the defense is the strength of this team, in my opinion. And the offense has just been inconsistent. To me, Carson, it lays on the shoulders of Michael Penix Jr. and what he can really give you. And I don't want to put all of this game on him. It's a tough go of it. Like we said, San Francisco and their creative coverages, creative looks. And this is a late play. It doesn't make that big of a difference. But like the throw he misses to Darnell Mooney on that corner route up the sideline late in this football game, I just look and I go, it's just one of many where Penix has got to make throws. He's got to make stuff happen. I think he's got one of the 3 best running backs in the NFL behind him in Bijan Robinson, who is making a really compelling offensive player of the year case. And if the Falcons had more team success, you could probably make an MVP case. Offensive line in front of him. They've had their fair share of injuries, right? But this is still a great run blocking unit and great unit in front of him. Pitts, London, Mooney. This is a great receiving group. Like, to me, the ceiling is all dependent on what Penix can give you. And that may be lukewarm, but it really is true. I think he's got to pull his weight. He's got to figure it out. And I think that's the hindrance, man. I think this is what's going to keep Atlanta from making the playoffs or winning a playoff game if they get there. And to be honest with you, what we've seen through 7 weeks of football, I would say Atlanta probably misses the playoffs in a really tough NFC. I think they are just not quite there. Is Penix going to keep getting better? Is there going to be stuff to build upon going into next year? Sure. I'm not out on him, but I just don't think he's there yet where I could see them. The NFC's brutal, man. There's a lot more teams that I thought were going to be better than I thought. Dallas is better than I thought. Seattle's a lot better than I thought. San Francisco's not going anywhere. Chicago's good. Minnesota's solid. Like, the NFC is just deep, and I kind of feel like Atlanta is below a lot of those teams that I mentioned just because of the limitations that really the Penix has, man. I like Atlanta as a team, but I don't think he's there yet.
They're just not quite consistent enough. And Penix is maybe the epitome of that. He can be a confusing watch. He does have this real upper echelon arm talent. And some of these throws that he rips, you're just like, whoa, man. I mean, the one on the second to last play of the first half that he just rips up the sideline, absolute beauty. I think about the ball placement on the one throw where they had the fake receiver screen into a wheel route, and the velocity there, the accuracy, it's like really, really good. He can make some of those big time throws, but then also his mechanics are wonky. The accuracy is inconsistent, and he's not always on the same page with his receivers. And so we kind of have like this week to week roller coaster where we don't really know what we're going to get from him, and we don't really know what we're going to get from the Falcons offense. So I do think there's obviously stuff to like here. I mean, there's premier playmakers. Drake London is flat out there. Bijan makes a case for being the best running back in football. The defense has improved. They've invested at the edge rusher position, and I think that they found more ways to manufacture pressure. I mean, they bring a shit ton of blitzes this year. So they're a better football team. Are they a legitimately good football team, though? I just can't quite get there. I think the jury is still out on a lot of stuff with them, and I think Penix is part of that. I don't really see it all coming together this year in a way where the Falcons are in the playoffs, or if they do sneak in there where they're capable of winning a playoff game. But like you said, the NFC is just really tough, and I think they end up just missing out on that picture. Speaking of the tough NFC, Logan, we had a battle between two teams who are both trying to make playoff pushes in that conference. The Philadelphia Eagles came up with a big win against the Minnesota Vikings, and it wasn't just that they came up with a win. It was how they did it that really stood out, Logan. How are you feeling about Philly after seeing how they won this football game today?
Confused, frankly. Jalen Hurts balled out, man. What a game it was from him and the receivers. Hurts goes 19 of 23 for 326 yards with 3 TDs. He has a perfect passer rating. It's his first career game with a perfect passer rating. He's the only quarterback to do so this year. And I mean, some of the throws, man, the shot play touchdown to Devontae, beautiful. The A.J. Brown improvised play was great. I thought Minnesota kind of made a mistake in that situation, only blitzing or only rushing 3. They had a QB spy. I wish the spy would have picked up and known to have come home, because it allowed Brown, after he had stopped his route, to literally just reverse back upfield and get to the end zone. But I mean, he makes some really difficult high-level throws in this one. Again, those downfield, he is on the money. Devontae Smith also balls out in this one. He has a high-pointed ball that he throws to Devontae, where Devontae is full extension, makes a crazy grab. He goes for 9 for 183 and a touchdown in this game. The big thing, though, to me was Hurts' sack evasion in creation with his legs. There's one where I could not believe that Jonathan Grenard didn't sack him, man. Grenard is coming around the corner and Hurts never sees him and somehow evades that pressure, is able to get outside and make a play, make some crucial third down conversions too in this one. That was it to me. They still can't run the ball, and that is extremely concerning to me when we're talking about the long-term prospects of the Eagles. Saquon Barkley has still, I've mentioned this periodically week to week as we bring it up. It's still true. The third fewest yards per carry of any running back in the NFL this season, considering that he was a 2,000-yard rusher last year. That's crazy. That kind of statistical regression. And again, I don't think it all lays at his feet. I think the scheme difference, the offensive line, I think all that is a component, certainly. Also, I think it also is just kind of a signal that teams aren't really as afraid of this passing game as much, and they're willing to load up these boxes and take away the running game. But it really is Hurts in these receiving weapons, man. When we're critical of the Eagles, it's not about the talent. We recognize how talented Hurts in this group can be at their best. It's really about their floor, is what we always talk about, is just how bad they can be when Hurts is off and he's inaccurate and he's holding on to the ball too long and he's taking these negative plays and he's making bad mistakes. We still realize that they're capable of this. It's just the consistency that they do it with. So I dropped Philly like a stone in my power rankings from 1 to 10. I'm not completely moved back to where I was. I realize that the Eagles are capable of doing this. It's just the consistency of which they give it to you. So, they'll probably, I don't know, I like a lot of other teams too. The Eagles will get bumped up probably a couple other spots. This is a great, really encouraging game for them against a tough defense, but I don't know, man. It's I've also seen really bad offense for 6 weeks too. So,
yeah,
I'm not going to be fully back with Philly. I'm skeptical about this continuing and how often they can do this moving forward.
I get that. I just think you're too low on Philly. I mean, when you drop them to 10, to me, with how uncertain the landscape is around the NFL, even though the offense had been so bad for them through 6 weeks, it's this is still the group that we just saw win the Super Bowl and do so in dominant fashion. And no, it's not the exact same group. It never is in the NFL. But a majority of the same key pieces are there. And last year, we also had some of these questions really persistently throughout the year about the inconsistency of the passing attack. And I think it was even worse early on this year. But then you look at the level they got to in the playoff run, and like they did really hit their stride there. So there's no question it's always going to be up and down with the Eagles passing attack. I'm not going to try to convince you at all that you should be bought all the way back in on this one game or anything. I just think dropping them as far as you did was too much for me when I can still so clearly see the vision with them in a way that I can't with some of the other teams who are in the back half of the top 10.
Yeah, I get that argument. My thing is, in this game, I felt like Minnesota left them off the hook. I felt like Minnesota should have won this game.
Well, I think that Minnesota definitely gave this game away in some ways. Obviously, the pick six in the first half is brutal, but like in terms of the Philly passing attack, they were just flat out excellent. And when Philly wins a game, that's like the most significant thing that I can see, because that's the biggest question that I have about this team. This defense hasn't been what it was last year when they were the best unit in football. They haven't been as dominant with pressure. They haven't been forcing turnovers at the same rate. They just haven't been the same group. They haven't been as good defending the run. But I have more faith in that group and the talent that still is there with the passing attack. Like, it really can get ugly sometimes. But when you see a game like this, you kind of wonder, like, how is it that it gets so ugly? Because AJ and Devontae are absolutely ridiculous, dude. And they are just absolutely shredding everybody. They combined for 300 and something yards in this game, just the two of them. And obviously, there are a number of things that have been going wrong for the Eagles early in the year. Play calling has been an issue, but also Hurts, particularly just his processing, holding on to the ball for too long, not being decisive enough, taking at times too many sacks. This is a game where he was so good at correcting all of those issues. He made some really nice plays, escaping the pocket, throwing on the run. But to me, what was probably more significant was just the decisiveness and the degree to which he was slinging the ball from inside the pocket. He made some really nice throws. He was very accurate. And these are not easy throws. This is not a game where it's a bunch of checkdowns underneath stuff. I mean, he's pushing the ball downfield. I think Hurts had like 8 completions of 15 air yards or more in this game. All of the swing plays pretty much are legitimate shot plays downfield. And I think his completion percentage over expected was the highest in the NFL this week. He completed like 25% of his passes more than expected. Part of that is his elite receivers making elite plays. But Hurts was also making some really good throws. And regardless, like, putting those dudes in positions to make plays is a step up from where this Eagles offense has been at times where they're not even getting them the ball. So I thought he was composed. I thought he handled the blitz really well. And they were able to convert on some of those real downfield passes that just haven't really been there. I thought this was up there for the best passing performance of Jalen Hurts' career. I can't think of a better one. It was that good. And so when you see him doing what he is capable of at his best, and you see how dominant AJ and Devontae are, it does make it all the more frustrating that the Eagles passing attack so often seems inept. Like, it's not just like they're not always at their best. Sometimes we're talking about a group that throws for 0 yards and a half. So you understand that downside and the inconsistency. But like I said, the talent is there for them to put it all together like this. And that's why I can't go and take them out of my top 5 contenders. I just know they can hit their stride and become a dominant football team. And their roster is just less flawed than pretty much anybody else's. So we've talked about this a lot, but everybody's got a concern. Everybody's got a red flag. We absolutely need to see Philly do this more consistently. But this was a really good win for them because they did the most significant thing that they could have in a win. And that's just be awesome in the passing game. But you say that you think in a lot of ways this was Minnesota kind of giving it away. Elaborate on that.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned, the pick six from Wentz, that's a free 6 points that he gives away. It's horrible, obviously. He drops into coverage off the edge. Wentz never sees him. Like, it's a horrible pick. I'm not excusing that. Next series, he tries to be Superman, rolling out of the pocket, throws it into double coverage.
That was a semi-arm punt. It's 2nd and 25. The series is pretty much cooked. He launched it like 40-some yards downfield. I mean, it's not great, but it's not a super bad pick. However, the pick six was a horrible, horrible pick.
I mean, they're both pretty bad. It's like, I think they were both bad interceptions, bad turnovers. They outgained Philly They went 7 of 15 on third down, and they had 2 touchdowns that come off the board. The Hawkinson one, I am still scratching my head over. I don't understand at all. I thought it was a touchdown. Wentz does some self-creation before that was really impressive on that play that's just not going to matter anymore. Was getting shifty on that final drive, creating out of the pocket through beautiful out routes, I thought, all game long. Like, you could say this for a lot of games about a lot of quarterbacks, but you take the 2 picks off the board. I thought it was a pretty damn good game from Wentz.
Second half was really good.
He was moving the hell out of the ball. The Hawkinson one, I don't get. Like, I 100% thought that was a catch. What did you think?
I can't say that I 100% thought that it was a catch. I don't understand how they overturned the call on the field. That was really surprising to me. So that was definitely a tough break.
I just thought he had gained. What I don't understand about a lot of these plays, okay, people say that you have to maintain through to the ground.
Right.
But when you cross the goal line, it's a touchdown and the play is dead. So if I establish possession before I go to the ground, like, that's what I thought with Hawkinson. I thought he had established possession before he even went to the ground, so it shouldn't have even mattered. Like, and I didn't think he lost possession at all.
Yeah, I thought he kept his hands underneath. That's the thing. So the ball moves a little bit, but his hands were underneath the whole time.
And I don't know, man. Ever since Des Bryant and Megatron and Jesse James, I have no idea what a catch is anymore, but I thought that was a catch. And then there was another one. They end up 2nd and 1. It was brutal. They start out with great field position. Should have scored a touchdown. The holding penalty brings it back, and then they have to settle for another field goal. So Philadelphia, and again, I have to give credit to Philadelphia's red zone defense for this as well. Minnesota goes 1 of 6 in the red zone on touchdowns, and it's like, I mean, if you just come away with TDs there, it makes all the difference. So I just felt like, yeah, Minnesota left them off the hook, man. I felt like Minnesota had the opportunities there to win this game and didn't. I think Minnesota still has a wild card chance. I think they are a feisty team, and it's going to hinge on Carson Wentz and what he can give you. I'll tell you what, though, I still firmly believe that he gives you the better chance to win than J.J. McCarthy does. Yeah. So Wentz giveth, Wentz taketh away. I think he can still make some plays. He's got a decent arm. He's going to have some bad turnovers like that, but he can also move the rock. I think he's their best option, and I think they got a chance for a wild card spot.
Every football game that is close is going to hinge on a couple of key plays. And the reality is the Eagles hit on a couple of really big explosive plays, because we can say that this was a 1-score game, but it's also a 1-score game where Philly converted a big first down, which was all they needed. And they were in the red zone, and like, they would have scored again if they wanted to. So I think that's important when we do this whole hypothetical, oh, but the Vikings left points on the board here. Philly did everything they needed to win this game, but I do agree that the Vikings should be frustrated with their poor red zone execution. Whenever you have 5 more red zone trips than your opponent, you should win that football game. And even though, again, Philly's formula in this one was the explosive passing plays and it was a pick 6, like the consistency with which the Vikings were able to drive into scoring position and the consistency with which they only came out of them with field goals, like definitely very disappointing and frustrating from this game. And then it's the pick 6. And just overall, Wentz wasn't good in the first half. I thought he was nails in the second half. Like, I really did. You mentioned using his legs at times, like extending plays. I thought that he put them in a lot of good positions. But overall, he's just not consistent. And I think that that's something of a death sentence for the Vikings this year, because regardless of who they have at the quarterback position, you're going to get a lot of inconsistency. I agree.
It sucks, dude,
I would go with Wentz over JJ.
And still, it's like he's one of those guys that I just don't trust at all in a big spot. You know, the game I think about with Carson Wentz is when he was on Indianapolis and they needed to win in week 17 to get into the playoffs. All they had to do was handle business. I think they got smoked by whoever they played, and he had multiple turnovers, bad sacks. Like, that's what I think of. I'd like to think that Wentz has matured a little bit and maybe gotten, you know, a little more self-aware, a little better as a player since then, just naturally improved. But I still think he's a little bit of that guy. That I feel very similarly, honestly, Carson, to Atlanta, the way I do about Minnesota. You've got premier playmakers like Justin Jefferson and Bijan Robinson. You've got defenses that I like quite a lot. Obviously, I like Minnesota's more.
Yeah.
But Atlanta's is very good. And I think they're just limited enough to where they're probably going to win 8 or 9 games and either sneak in on the back end or barely miss out on the playoff party. They're very similar to me.
I think that's a pretty apt comparison. I do think the Vikings are even a little bit more talented, and I do think that they are better coached. Like, I absolutely love their coaching staff. I think KOC and Flores is as good of a combination when it comes to who's calling each side of the ball that you're going to find in the NFL. I thought they were the best coaching staff in football last year. And so because they're talented enough and they're well coached enough, like, they can hang with anybody, but their quarterback play is going to put a clear ceiling on them. I do think that Wentz has shown more of an ability to execute this offense as a professional, as a veteran, to not kind of melt down like we saw JJ McCarthy melt down for 7 of 8 quarters when he was on the field. I know that he's their guy. It seems like the indications from within Minnesota are like, when he's healthy, he's going to be the guy. I would not do that because I don't think he's as ready to win football games as Wentz is, but also Wentz isn't very good either. And either way, you're trying to lift these guys up with the rest of your roster and kind of game plan around them. And that's not a good formula for playoff success. It's a frustrating spot to be in after you won 14 games last year. And I think that's just going to be the story of the Vikings season, especially as Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones both go out there and are like putting up MVP kind of numbers for teams that are doing really well. And you had both of them in your quarterback room. That's obviously going to remain the frustration. But a very good win for the Eagles and a very good performance for Jalen Hurts, much needed after last week's disaster and just the overall frustration building with the offense. Let's talk about the craziest game of the day, Logan. One of the craziest games you'll just about ever see. The Denver Broncos entered the fourth quarter today down 19-0. And they won the football game 33-32. We had multiple lead changes in the last couple minutes of this game. It's one of the wildest fourth quarters you will ever see. What do you take away from all that madness, Logan?
I don't know. That is one of the craziest games I've ever watched. I had to rewrite my notes for this game like 4 times, dude. They trailed 19-0. They trailed 26-8. And they trailed 32-30 with 37 seconds left. I just got to give Bo Nix props. This is an amazing fourth quarter from Bo Nix and the Broncos. It starts off a little wonky, right? You get the tip drill TD to Troy Franklin. They end up converting the 2-point conversion, but Bo scrambles for a TD. A crucial 3rd and 11. He hits a deep ball to Marvin Mims. This is on the next scoring drive for them. This is a really impressive drive to me from Bo. This is a really little detail in the play, but 2nd and 10, while they're driving after the big hit to Mims, he checks to a screen on 1st down after a hard count because he realizes that they're going to bring the pressure. Checks to a screen. They get another 1st down after that, get great field position. Then he scrambles in another rushing touchdown. Need points, got to get the field goal to win the game because the Giants leave the door open with the mixed extra point. He missed that extra point. He also missed another one on the day. So not only if he had made one, they could have only tied the game. If he had made both, they would have needed a TD.
And not just that, they also went for 2 and didn't get it because of the first mixed extra point. So it actually cost them a total of 3 points if you compare it to if they just made all the extra points.
It just infuriating. Comes up huge there. Flips the field on another big shot to Mims. Genius runs hurry up, draws a 5-yard penalty on Brian Burns because he didn't get set. Then he hits the fade to Sutton. Will Lutz boots the game-winning field goal. Like, there's a whole other side of this with the Giants that I think is very, very embarrassing for them. But as a guy, and I'm only going to say this negatively about Bo because he gets the dub and he played an awesome fourth quarter. I do think he missed a lot of opportunities earlier in this game.
Absolutely.
Bo came through super impressive, man. He looked so composed in this game. And that is the word that I would hammer home because as Dart, the rookie quarterback, crumbled in the fourth quarter, Bo looked rock solid, made all the plays he needed to, was on time, was on target, made plays with his legs. Like, hand up as a guy who's been very critical of Bo Nix. This is by far, I mean, this is the best quarter. I mean, that might be the best quarter of his life, but this is one of the better games I've seen from Bo Nix, and it is an encouraging one when we're talking about the consistency that you get from Bo. Again, earlier in the game, it was ugly, but props to him for turning it around and staying composed, man. That's what really shone through to me late in this game.
Definitely. It was a super clutch performance. The comeback phenomenon is always interesting because it's so exhilarating and everybody loves the clutch factor so much that it's like sometimes the excitement of the comeback overwrites that it's like, oh yeah, you were down 19-0 to the New York Giants, and that's not such a good thing. And you ended up beating the New York Giants by 1 point. I do think that, like you said, there was a lot left on the table early in this game for the Broncos offense. But ultimately, I feel like the literal result of this game is more significant than any takeaway that we could kind of have from this one, because the game was just so fucking weird. Like, this is maybe not the most insightful thing to say, but like the most important thing to come out of this one is not some nuanced football revelation. It's that the Broncos won this game and the Giants lost this game. And obviously the standout aspect of Denver getting this done is just the clutch execution on offense, particularly. This is their second win this year, where the offense looked lifeless and inept until the fourth quarter, and then they turned it on for a big comeback. We just saw this a couple weeks ago against Philly. This is obviously a much more dramatic example. You have 0 points in 3 quarters and then 33 points in 1. I don't believe that's ever happened in NFL history, even with all my nerd tools, Logan. I don't have a way to look that one up, but I can't imagine that's ever happened before. But it's incredible. For most of the game, really nothing was working. I thought Bo missed some throws. I thought he wasn't handling pressure well, but he was nails on the last few drives and really made the most of his best asset, which in my opinion is his legs. Like, the guy is a very good athlete and he gives you 48 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, a number of the biggest plays of this game. There's a 4th down conversion where they lean on his legs, but particularly the rushing touchdown initially in the comeback effort, and then the go-ahead touchdown is a designed Bo run. I loved that call. So really good using his legs. And then the 2 throws on the final drive, those were big-time completions, relatively tight window throws, accurate. And they just made all the big plays, man. Like, they go 2 of 2 on 2-point conversions, whereas we're talking about the Giants leaving 3 points on the board just through botched extra points and a failed 2-point conversion. Like, the Broncos had absolutely zero margin in this comeback effort, and they did everything that they had to do. And the one area in which I will always give Bo credit, because like you, Logan, I don't think that Bo Nix is very good, big picture, but he is a competitor. He is a dog. He is somebody who is going to hang in there with the belief that he has a chance to win the football game. I think that is infectious. I think that that is something that is a positive for his teammates, for the culture of the team, and that never say die attitude, like, it means something. And I don't think that he feels differently in the pressure moments than he does in the normal moments. I don't know. He's been performing better in the pressure moments because there's been a lot of shit leading up to them. And then he's put them in position to win a couple of these games late. So that's where you give props to Denver in this one. The big picture issue that's going to have to be resolved with this team, and I don't know that it can this year, is that their offense isn't good. They came into today 23rd in points per drive. They had 0 points through 3 quarters, but they survived. They stole a win. They found a way to win, and it doesn't matter who that's against, even if it's the Giants. Like, that's massive to do in a 17-game NFL regular season, especially when you are a team that is very likely going to be on the playoff cusp. Like, that could be the difference between making it and missing it. So the implications of this game, just in terms of the literal outcome, again, loom larger to me than any specific football thing that really happened. On the flip side of this, for New York, it's just a complete disaster, though. I mean, you were a meltdown away, like a complete meltdown away from being 3-1 with Jackson Dart as the starter. And not just that, you'd have wins over the Chargers, Eagles, Broncos. If you had just like stayed on cruise control in this one, it would have been pretty comfortable wins too, like multiple score wins. All of a sudden, New York is rejoicing for the first time in a long time. And instead you blow it in remarkable fashion. So what is your takeaway for the Giants from this, Logan?
I mean, I just think it's a rookie growing pain kind of thing, man. I don't want to put this all on Dart, but this was not a good Jackson Dart game. And I think some of the stats, like the touchdowns, are a little bit inflated. Like late in this game, I think he's still really reckless, man. And I like some of the traits that we've seen from Dart, but I think it's going to be like breaking in a horse. Like he's just going to have to rein it in sometimes.
He's something of a wild Bronco, Logan.
He is. He is, man. The pick to Sternaud, I didn't really get because they were saying I don't know if you heard the broadcasters. They were saying that they thought that if he had planted his feet, he could have got a little more zip on that ball and gotten it through. The linebacker to me was in the path regardless.
Yeah,
like
I think it was just a terrible read, terrible decision.
Exactly. I don't think he saw the linebacker. I think that was just a horrible pick. So, okay, that's bad. Following drive, big 3rd and 8, overthrows Wan'Dale Robinson, who cooks his guys. He is open streaking, overthrow. The drive they end up scoring a touchdown on. He misses Jalen Hyatt deep on a go route. He throws into triple coverage on 3rd and 19. And then on another 1st and 10, he throws another go route in double coverage in the middle of the field. Like I thought Denver dropped multiple interceptions late in this game. They gift him a 1st down on 4th and 19. You know, they find Robinson on the in route. That was close. Like, that would have been a measure.
It looked like they were spotting it as a 1st down. It was short of the projected TV line, but the official was saying 1st down.
I think they were going to regardless. Like, it was going to be a 1st down, but then Franklin Myers, it didn't matter because he ended up getting the roughing the passer call, which I think was a good call. I think he hit him late. That looked like a late jump to me. Then you get the Riley Moss DPI. Sean Payton's arguing it. He gets the unsportsmanlike conduct. Like, it's completely flipped. Now the Broncos are hitting the meltdown button. They have gift wrapped you the win back because you just got to get in the end zone, and then the kicker blows the extra point. Like, it's all about the quarterback to me, man. I like the defense. I've been encouraged by them. I like the scat and dart combination, but this is a game where it's like, dude, that's the one thing you can't do, man. I felt like they could have, you said it, cruise control. That's the word. Mm-hmm. Go brainless, mind it. You ain't even got to think about it. We're going to run the clock out. Maybe they score one more time, but they're going to eat up a bunch of clock. And at worst, we have to get a couple of 1st downs and we put this game on ice. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it is just, and still at the end, it's like, dude, they ended up doing enough. If the guy just makes the extra points, they're fine. It's a heartbreaking and unfortunately also the most Giants way to lose a football game.
It is. The Jackson Dart experience has been really weird overall, I would say. Like, there's some really good moments in this game, especially also, early on.
Last thing I want to elaborate on, I was talking about the inflated stat line.
Yeah.
One, Daniel Bellinger is just wide open on the most wide open TD I've seen this season. Nobody was on him. So that was like a gift TD.
But he had to evade some pressure first. That's not a play that every quarterback could have made.
That one, not as much. The other one is more important. The Theo Johnson ricochet touchdown off of Wan'Dale's hands. I mean, what the fuck, man? I've never seen that before. That was crazy.
Well, that was a perfectly executed hook and ladder, Logan, is what Dable
cooked it up like that.
He cooked that up, exactly. It was a touch pass is what it was from Wan'Dale to Bellinger. Yeah, there was a lot of weird shit that happened in this game, man. I mean, both teams had a ricochet touchdown, so that feels about right for how insane everything going on was. And it was very up and down from Dart. Like, early on, I thought there were some really impressive moments where he's evading pressure, he's slinging it downfield, and you're like, okay, that's not something that a whole lot of guys can do athletically. And I thought that he actually dealt with the blitz quite well early on against an awesome defense. And you can clearly tell, as we've seen in every game, that like he is a good plus athlete. And so it was an impressive start, but he's very erratic. And that's not uncommon for a young quarterback. That's not some death sentence, right? This guy is in his 4th start. He's certainly not in ideal circumstances. Malik Neighbors is out for the year, obviously. But if you do look at the 2 losses that they've taken with Dart at the helm, we have kind of seen him melt down late, and the decision-making has gotten very questionable. Like in the Saints game, you can say, okay, things were starting to get out of reach, but in that comeback effort, he threw 2 bad picks. And look, if any game proves that things are never really out of reach in the NFL. It's this one and what happened on the other side. And the pick that he threw to Strnad was just so bad. I agree with you. I don't think that there's really any way to get that ball through. And you just have to understand it's all about living to see another down. Punting is totally fine there. If you punt, you put Denver back inside their own 20, probably. So, yeah, their offense has momentum. Maybe they can drive on you again. Okay, make them go 80 yards. Make them use 3 to 4 minutes. There was less than 5 minutes left in the football game. You're up 10. And so even if they score, maybe they have to use a timeout or two, or it's under the 2-minute warning. Like, you are going to be in excellent position to still win that football game. But instead, you give them the ball inside your own 20 off of a horrible interception. And now the comeback is very, very alive. And then you mentioned the quick 3 and out. He misses Wandale. Like, even the last drive, I thought the 4th and 19 was a really great play. I did. Everything outside of that,
he
though,
was wild with some of them throws, man. I'm like just reckless. Like, like it's just he should have gotten punished for it. Like, those are throws that if not like that, I didn't want to spank him. I just meant like,
why not?
My fault. I just meant like, normally you throw it, if Jameis Winston throws that ball, it's an interception, man. Like, it's just, those should have been picked off. Those are terrible decisions.
It's white privilege?
Terrible. I guess maybe. Is that the underlying factor?
That's what I got from what you were saying. I'm just trying to listen. I'm just sitting my white ass down and I'm trying to listen and learn.
It's just like, he made crucial mistakes on that final drive, man, that you should just know. Even as a rookie, man, those are not balls you should be throwing double, triple coverage. He was just reckless.
He has been reckless at times, for sure. I think he's also been impressive at times. And like, his ability to use his legs, man, is very, very legit. He had 50+ rushing yards in each of his first 3 games.
And him and Cam are just like legitimately crazy. They are actually insane.
They're definitely psychopaths. It's kind of funny. Like, we have these 2 guys who debuted this year. Honestly, I'm going to even lump Bo into this. These young quarterbacks, Bo, Dart, JJ, they're all like psychotic competitors. I don't think any of them are necessarily very good. I think we've seen very little of Dart. Like, I think the jury is totally still out on him for sure. But what more so just stands out is that, like, they're psychos and they bring a lot of energy. And I do think that that's a good thing. Like, I agree with you that maybe the numbers for Dart make the performance look better than it was. Because ultimately, like, he basically gives the game away with that pick. Yes, a lot more crazy shit still happened for sure, but you close the door just by not doing the worst thing that you can possibly do in that moment. So that is on him for sure. And even though there were some big plays, it's like, any time that you've got a completion percentage below 50, you probably didn't play a very good football game. You certainly didn't play a complete one. I'm not some completion percentage guy, but I think that, like, there is a rough approximation there of consistency. And when you go 15 of 33, it tells you that it was an up and down day and there were some balls going all over the field and there were some questionable throws made. I do think that he's a solid talent. And I think he's absolutely better than Russell Wilson. And that's why I think Giants fans are excited. And that's where, like, you got to give the guy credit. I mean, again, they could have been 3-1 with him as the starter. It felt like their season was over. All hope was lost. He's injected some life in there. At least by being a better athlete, he's doing more for the offense. So I don't really know what to make of him yet. And I don't think this is the game that's going to lead to the definitive conclusions about anything, because it was just a buck wild experience. Absolutely buck wild. Let's talk about a game, Logan, that featured a former New York Giants quarterback who I'm sure everybody is looking at the posters of him on their walls where they had once been throwing darts, and now they're longingly caressing those posters because they wish that they could have gotten this version of him. Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts just keep marching along, Logan, a 1-loss football team up to this point on the year. They took care of business against the Chargers. What did you take away from another convincing performance from Indy?
I mean, I'm just ready to hand out a bunch of awards to Indianapolis, man. I think Jonathan Taylor right now, I think, would be my MVP. I want to make it cool to give running backs MVP again, man.
Sadly,
what happened to my league, man? Mahomes and Allen and Lamar, man, they ruined it. They
Well,
ruined it.
don't you think they impact the game more than the running back, Mr. Sir?
Right now, I think if we looked at all the results in totality, I think Taylor deserves it. I mean, I think he's the underlying engine. Yes, by and
Well,
large, but come on, man. Come
what
on, man.
about
Just
Matt
one time.
Stafford? You don't want to see old Matt Stafford get an MVP at this
Look,
age. You don't think that
here,
he's actually impacting the game more. Here's what I'll say real quick. It's so hard for me to envision a running back ever actually being MVP again, just with where the league is at and how overwhelmingly crucial the quarterback position is, especially when you're talking about the elite guys compared to what anybody else can do to impact the game at any other position. But also, like, if it does happen, it's going to have to be more like what Derrick Henry was doing in 2020 to me, where it's like he's totally carrying an offense. I think Jonathan Taylor is obviously doing incredible stuff, but also, like, their offensive line is amazing. They have a
no,
lot of
I mean,
weapons. They have a
100%,
great
dude.
play caller.
Yes, I think all of those are components, but I think Jonathan Taylor is the underlying reason why the team, like the offense, is so great. He is their best player. He is number one in rushing
Is he
yards
better
per
than
game.
Quentin Nelson? Is
He's
he better
number
than Quentin
one
Nelson?
in touchdowns. They're both
Respect the
tops
trenches.
of their position. I don't want to discredit the offense. Look, bruh, we're not giving out. We've already established we can't give out. Quentin Nelson can win Protector of the Year. Sure, let's give him that award. Let's give
Oh, all right.
MVP to
What is
Jonathan
this?
Taylor.
Some
He
sort of
is
indie fuckfest? You're going to give them every single award?
honestly, yeah, I'm there with him, bruh. He's number one in yards after contact. He's number one in broken tackles. He is number one in 10 plus rushing yard or attempts over 10 yards. He's number one in attempts over 20 yards. He's number one in attempts over 30, 40, and 50 yards. Taylor's a big play waiting to happen, man. He's lightning in a bottle. I think he empowers everybody in this offense to do their job at a higher level. He gives you the ability to have, again, these explosive plays, but also these long, methodical marching drives. Obviously, I think the offensive line deserves credit. I think Shane Steichen deserves credit. I think Daniel Jones deserves credit. But I think the underlying guy here is Jonathan Taylor, and I think he's the best player on the best offense in football on a team that has the best record in football. And that's my rationale. That's why Jonathan Taylor would be my MVP if the season ended today.
I don't think there's really argument against the fact that the Colts have been the best team in football up to this point on the year. Like, they're just bludgeoning people. They're beating the good teams. They're destroying the mediocre to bad teams. And it really is mostly about the offense. We give credit to the defense and what Lou Anarumo has done, and like DeForest Buckner at a massive, massive game today. But they look like an offensive juggernaut right now. And there are certain teams around the league for whom the yards and the points come really easy. It doesn't require that like exceptional carry job from the quarterback position. It's just, we're great in the trenches. We're calling great plays. Our receivers get separation. All of our playmakers make plays, and it all works in tandem to just create this very well-oiled machine. That's what the Colts are. In fact, they've been that team in the NFL up to this point in the year. Coming into today, they were third in EPA per pass. They were first in EPA for rush, like an incredibly balanced, complete, dominant offense. And they continue that into today. They had 38 points in the first three quarters. And the Chargers came out and they scored touchdowns on their first three drives of the second half. And they were pretty much just keeping pace because the Colts came out and they scored touchdowns on their first two drives of the second half after they had already built this massive lead in the first half. So they check, I would like to say, every box offensively. There is part of me that is still like, how convinced can we be by Daniel Jones now that we are starting to hold the Colts to a different standard? Like, I want to be clear. I could not have been more wrong about the Colts before this year. I could not have been more wrong about Daniel Jones. I thought the Colts were going to be not good. I thought Daniel Jones was going to be bad. And instead, they have been the most consistently great team in football up to this point. And Daniel Jones has been statistically one of the best quarterbacks in football. And he's playing by far the best football of his career. I do still have some hesitation, though, just in terms of like when you go up against the elite defenses in a playoff game, if somebody's able to contain the run game a little bit more and put more pressure on Danny Dimes, just how good can he really be over the course of a playoff run? That's the only thing that I could point at with this team. But in terms of like regular season production, like I said, he is producing like one of the best quarterbacks in football. So they're doing everything so well, and they have so much confidence in what they're doing. And you feel that with this offense too. I mean, they go 3 of 3 on fourth down today. They're refusing to settle for field goals. They are trying to put the game away. They're trying to build as much margin as they can on every drive. They want touchdowns. There's been so much talk about how little they've punted this year, but that standard offensively is just so high, and they're living up to it. 3rd and 10, ice the game. They trust Danny Dimes to make the throw when he converts. There was a point where like they got Harbaugh to burn a timeout just by bringing the offense back out there. 4th and 2, they sent the punt team out. Then they brought the offense back out. Harbaugh got freaked out, called the timeout, and they ended up just punting anyways. But I just feel like that speaks to how intimidating the Colts offense is right now, that they can just get
Daniel
a free
Jones
psychological advantage. Well, Daniel Jones is only part of it, Logan. He's always had sort of an interesting, not quirked up white boy dynamic, more of a crazed white boy.
More of a deer in the headlights kind of, yeah.
Well, he's got the Bobby Portis eyes, the bulge, sort of that crazed look, but he's hooping and he's in control of the game right now. Like, there are very few moments you can point to this year where you're like, oh yeah, that's the old Daniel Jones. Like, he's been great under pressure. He's been consistently very accurate. He has the physical tools. So this offense is just operating in complete control. They're so impressive. They are so impressive.
I just think it's the union of, I think Steichen needed, I don't want to say a robot, but like he needed a guy who could come in here and operate at a high level. And Daniel Jones has always been a really hard worker and a really, really good competitor. And he wanted to be a leader. Like, I think Indianapolis needed a guy like Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones needed a guy like Shane Steichen. I think that Steichen, I think, obviously amplifies Jones more, but I think he needs a guy like Jones that can operate a system. And Steichen's brilliant, man. He's also my coach of the year. I mean, that's the other big takeaway. We're talking about raw output, number 1 in points per game. My craziest stat about Indianapolis's offense hasn't been any of the things about Taylor or the points. It's the fact that Daniel Jones is the least sacked quarterback in all of the NFL. That blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. But like you mentioned, it's also the aggressiveness, man. Early in this game, when they have that really long drive, that's a momentum shifter right there, where Los Angeles, it's like a flip sort of thing, right? Where if you go on a 14, 15 play drive and you end up with a field goal, even though you scored, you end up feeling like, damn, they made us really work for those 3 points. Yeah. That's a big momentum deal there, where if the Chargers get them off the field, they're feeling way better about themselves. Steichen and them say, fuck it, we're going to put it in the end zone. And that's exactly what they do. They find Pittman. I love that aggressiveness from Steichen, and I think that's should be the new wave of coaching. We didn't talk about this because we didn't talk about this game, but it's like, I mean, Mike Tomlin is a fucking dinosaur, man.
Yeah.
I love Coach T, and he is a Hall of Famer to me. But the punts that you don't do that anymore, man. You need to be aggressive, and I like that Steichen's not afraid to put his nuts on the table and go for it, and that's a big strength of this Colts offense too. He's coach of the year to me. I think Tyler Warren is up there for the best tight end in football right now. Like, they're and like you said, man, the big boys, the Buffet boys, you can't forget about them. They're firing on all cylinders, man.
Just a phenomenal all-around offense. They're elite in terms of rushing production and efficiency. They're elite in terms of passing production efficiency. They're elite on 3rd down. They're elite on 4th down. They just pour points on you. And I saw our good buddy Theo Ash NFL tweet out today that the Colts were looking a little Lions-y.
I think it's the new meta, man. I just think it's the new wave. I think this is how, as we move on into whatever football is going to look, I think you need to have an offense that can run it up.
Well, you definitely need good offense. There's no question about that, but there's not a ton of coaches. I don't think there's not a lot of offensive infrastructure that can get this out of Daniel Jones. And Theo making that comparison did kind of make me hearken back to like who people thought that Jared Goff was when he came to Detroit. Now, obviously, he had a much better resume than Daniel Jones did. He had already been the quarterback of some great offenses. He had been to a Super Bowl. But the year before Goff was traded to Detroit, he had a really down season, and he was seen as the problem with the Rams, and he had turnover issues, and like the consensus was that he was a below average quarterback. And then he has a little bit more time to just develop and mature and refine some of his stuff, and he's paired with a great offensive mind, and he's paired with a great offensive situation, and it doesn't just become like a one-off of like, oh, Jared Goff was really good in 2023. They're right back there in 2024 as a dominant offense. They're going to be right back there this year as a dominant offense. And I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is going to do that year after year, but I do think when you put so many great conditions around a guy, you can just straight up elevate him to a different level than you ever thought possible. And that level can potentially be sustained. So there's a lot that we are seeing from the Colts right now that just screams dominance. And even though I've been a little bit hesitant to fully buy in, I think compared to most, we've talked so much about how chaotic the landscape is around the NFL this year and how like nobody's consistently great. They're the one team that has actually been consistently great. So I can only say, ooh, Daniel Jones makes me a little bit scared so much. And like, yeah, that is going to be the reason that I don't have them as my number one contender, but I don't know that I can say that the Colts can't beat anybody in football right now in a playoff run. Like, I think the coaching is that good. The talent is actually that good. And there's a reason that they look this phenomenal. They're a really, really damn good football team. They just continue to prove that. On the flip side of this, Logan, the Chargers are in this rough skid right now where they came out the gates hot and they started 3-0. Then they dropped a couple straight, and then they barely escaped with a win against the Dolphins, and now they lose this one. How are you feeling about where they're at right now?
I think the Chargers are cooked. All the injuries, I think it's just piling up to be too much at this point, especially the offensive line situation. Justin Herbert's a superhero, but I don't think he's overcoming this. And I get it. He has his mistakes in this game. I don't want to absolve him. Like the Grover Stewart interception off the batted ball, the interception in the end zone. Like, those are bad plays from Herbert. It's just a lot right now. You know, I think the wide receiver room is finally the best it's been. He's got more weapons, but the offensive line is dealing with a bunch of, it's patchwork at this point. The defense has got a ton of injuries. I look around the AFC. I think the Chargers are probably still going to make the playoffs. I think they could miss out maybe if maybe. I don't know. I think they'll be close no matter what. It's going to be determined on Herbert. But when we're zooming out and looking at them in a big picture context, that is where they're going to run into a team with a good D-line, and Herbert's probably going to get eaten alive, and they're going to get bounced. Like, the Chargers it's sad. It really looked like after that hot start against Kansas City that this could be a team that could maybe, they're down Slater, but if everybody else stays healthy, maybe they can compete for a Super Bowl, go on a little bit of a run or something like that. And I certainly feel like that's off the table at this point for LA.
The injuries have definitely been brutal. The offensive line play is just like so horrific. And we talk about this every week, but you can't watch a Chargers game and not talk about it, not have it be like the biggest thing on your mind. That and the fact that Justin Herbert is just about the only good thing about this team right now. He was the most pressured quarterback in the NFL coming into today. I imagine he was the most pressured quarterback today. Those numbers haven't come out yet, but DeForest Buckner alone had 10 pressures today, Logan. It's the most by an interior defensive lineman this entire season. The offensive line is horrible. The protection's horrible. The run game is really bad. They're down their top two running backs. Like, it's just an absurd situation. He's doing everything he can. Now, yeah, this wasn't a perfect game. The red zone interception in the first half, that was on him. The deflected interception, that's more unfortunate. That's a turnover all the same. But the guy had 420 passing yards. He led the team in rushing. They went 8 of 16 on third down. He converted all of 3 fourth downs that were not a 4th and 27 at the very end of this game, where they still picked up 20-something yards. But he can't do literally everything. And right now, his team is in a position where everything offensively is on his shoulders to make plays under pressure over and over again, to pick up for lack of run game over and over again. And defensively, they couldn't get a stop. And this is the Colts, and they've been the best offense in football. So, yeah, it's a really challenging matchup. But I've been disappointed with the Chargers defense these last few weeks. I thought that they struggled against Washington. I thought that they struggled against Miami. They were able to get a couple Tua turnovers in that game, as he is so generously giving out to everybody right now, but they weren't getting a lot of stops. And in this game, they just looked absolutely helpless out there. So the run defense is a real issue for them. Like, it's been bad. They are not a group that gets a lot of pressure. And I thought that Jesse Minter was able to do a phenomenal job making the most out of this talent last year. I thought they were just like one of the most buttoned up, sound defenses in football, if not the most. But the formula hasn't been holding up this year, and they've been kind of getting shredded. And so I do just keep getting lower on them. I think Herbert is amazing. I will continue to glaze him until the day that he stops deserving it. Logan, I think it's going to be a long time before that happens. But everything around him is just falling apart, or has already actively fallen apart. So that's the state of the Chargers. That being said, Logan, it's a hell of a lot better than the state of another AFC West team, because the Raiders got shut out by the Kansas City Chiefs today in the return of Rashee Rice. So what did you take away from this absolute blowout?
I mean, I still think I can't take too much away from the Chiefs bludgeoning the Raiders. Raiders suck. Chief good. That's my take.
Pretty good analysis.
Vegas. Yeah, I'm looking at these numbers, man, and I still kind of can't believe they're real. 3 first downs, 93 total yards, I believe is what the Raiders put up today.
It's not that bad.
In the first half, Kansas City had 19 first downs. Las Vegas ran 13 plays.
Not bad.
So let's send Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly to the old folks' home. And let's put Brady at quarterback.
And what do we do with Geno, Logan? What do we do with my beloved Geno?
I'm going to be honest, Carson. I have some really unfortunate news to break to you.
No, here we go. And this is what I've been dreading most.
Your portfolio has taken a massive hit because of you cornering the market and creating a monopoly on Geno Smith plushies. The stock has plummeted.
It was my NVIDIA. It was my most brilliant move.
The bubble has popped.
Oh, Geno. Today I found myself just mumbling, and I'm dead serious about this as I was watching the game. I just went, Geno. I'm so disappointed, and I'm so hurt. It's so bad. Everything is terrible. Look, they're just a complete disaster. Now, I really did not expect this. I thought the Raiders were going to be an 8-win team. I thought they were going to be like a very solid 8-win team. I thought they were going to be a good offense. Turns out they can't protect. Their offensive line is horrible. They can't run the ball, despite the fact that they drafted Ashton Genty 6th overall. And Geno's brain stopped working. Somehow the guy whose processing I used to praise, his brain stopped working. And now he makes terrible decisions with the football consistently. I believe he had, 16 pass attempts for 67 yards today, something like that. So it's over. The goose is cooked. I've already lost everything that I had tied up in Geno Smith plushies. It's gone down the drain. And also Brock is hurt and Jacoby Myers is hurt and the defense sucks. So Raiders fans, I don't know how you do it. It's such an eternally miserable existence. The NFL is so brutal, Logan. The shitty franchises are actually so shitty. Like the Browns of the world, the Raiders of the world, the Jets of the world, they don't get a break. They don't get a good year. They certainly don't get 2 good years back to back. They just continue to fail and somehow fail more spectacularly. And the Raiders really are as bad as it gets, like in modern history. And I think sometimes maybe that gets overlooked because they've got their Super Bowls from back in the Kenny Stabler and the Plunkett days. And they even went to a Super Bowl back in 2002. But since the following year, Logan, since 2003.
And one good year.
Yeah. They only have more wins than the Cleveland Browns. They're 31st in wins, and they have 2 playoff appearances, and they have no playoff wins. They have seen fewer playoff games since 2003 than any other fan base, even the Cleveland Browns.
Miami.
Even Miami. Miami's 0-4. They've at least been there more. It's unbelievable. So all I can say is I'm sorry, my thoughts are with you. And Gino, if you ever need anywhere to stay, if you ever need a shoulder to cry on, if you ever need someone to talk to, I don't know if you know this. I'm the guy who once sent a DM to Nathan Peterman after he threw 5 interceptions and a half, telling him to keep his head up. That's what I was doing as a 16-year-old. That's the kind of empath that I am.
I think
and that's
Gino
how I
might
look
need
out for
some
my people.
encouragement too, man.
He definitely does. No question about it. Or I guess I could send him an AI photo of us kissing, me and him. Not you and I, Logan. Get your head out of the
I was going
gutter.
to say AI. You don't need an AI photo of that.
No, I've got plenty of those, but those are not going to Gino. On the flip side, the Chiefs offense looks amazing. It's been looking amazing, so that takeaway doesn't come from this game. But you do feel the presence of Rasheed, 7 catches, 2 touchdowns. He's just the most reliable down-to-down guy in this offense. And outside of the Colts, nobody's offense has been looking better in recent weeks. And it's just such a benefit to this group to have everybody's responsibilities slotted down a bit once Rasheed comes in and resets the hierarchy, because Mahomes was spreading the wealth today. I mean, there were 7 players who had 25 or more receiving yards, but
I mean,
now
Hollywood and Juju is your, third, fourth, fifth guys, depending on where Thornton is. And I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. And they're really your 4th, 5th, 6th targets because you have Travis Kelce. So it's a nice group. Yeah. Even like Noah Gray is their 2nd tight end. It's absolutely the best offense they've had since 2022. It's absolutely the best pass catchers they've had since probably Tyreek Hill was on the team, I would say. So that's the good news for Kansas City. We both had him number 1 in our contender rankings this past week. Even sitting at 4-3, I don't know that anybody looks stronger and should feel better right now than the Chiefs. That bar is lower this year than it's probably ever been through 7 weeks, but that's the way it is. There's a couple more interesting games worth talking about, Logan. I don't know why I jumped to the Raiders game. I guess I just wanted to get the Geno stuff out of the way. It kills me, dude. There's some guy who has commented on every single TikTok that we've posted for weeks saying, no. When are you guys going to address your horrible comments about Geno Smith and how he's actually one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL? I will never reply to that comment. And that guy probably doesn't watch our YouTube stuff because otherwise he would have seen us address it. And so to that guy, I'm going to leave you screaming into the void, although I have acknowledged you here now, and so I've kind of defeated the whole point there. Anyways, I was very excited for Cowboys-Commanders because as much as I love Geno, I also love my darling boy Dakota Prescott, and I wanted to see him in a real shootout. The game ended up underwhelming. Dak's performance did not. The Cowboys did not. But Logan, I know you've been real high on those Washington Commanders. You had them going to the Super Bowl before the year. Just last week, you and your anti-Eagles propaganda, you were saying that they're still going to win the division, Washington is. How concerned are you about their state of affairs right now?
I mean, the Commanders are done too if Jaden Daniels is significantly hurt. He left the game. He'd been dealing with a left leg injury coming into the game. Leaves this one with a right hamstring injury. I think the Commanders are still better than their record says. Like, I don't put a ton of stock into that. I mean, like, they lost the game, obviously, but like, short week against Green Bay in Green Bay, I wouldn't expect them to win that game. The unfortunate part is even though we haven't seen the offense really hit its stride, and I don't know, even if Jaden is healthy, I don't know if that's going to happen because I'm kind of hearing that Terry McLaurin might be out even longer, could potentially miss the rest of the season. I was waiting for McLaurin, Debo, get them fully healthy. You got a really solid hierarchy there with like Zach Ertz. That's a pretty potent combination along with the elite running game that the Commanders have. I don't even know if that would come to fruition. Regardless, the defense isn't even championship caliber. It's nowhere close. And the cornerback play, this was the problem with Washington last year. Washington's defense wasn't very good, right? They became passable as the season went along. The red flag was their corners. The red flag, because I was like, man, the run defense has been pretty good. The pass rush is really great. Like, they've looked really good there. This was a test, and this was a test you got to pass. It's not easy. On the flip side of this, like, the Cowboys are a scary-ass wild card team. I would not want to play them in the playoffs. You could get your block knocked off by Dallas. You got to put up a better fight than this, though, man. They got bludgeoned through the air. They can't cover, and their coverage is nowhere close to being playoff or championship caliber. If this happened against an upper echelon passing attack, it was inevitable. So I feel like, if they ran into a Detroit, this would probably happen. If they ran into who else in the NFC? I'm trying to think. Like if Tampa Bay, this would happen. I think that any of these really high potent passing attacks are going to do this, and they didn't pass the test. So I think Jaden's probably going to miss some time. I don't know if it's worth it having him come back and play. Let him rest. Like let him come back next year 100%. I don't know what his injury is going to look like. The defense isn't up to snuff, so it's like this team's ceiling feels like a first round exit at best if everything goes right.
And they're at a point in the season where it's like they need to get things together immediately, and yet everything is like kind of falling apart because the Jaden injury, which is apparently not serious, but we don't know. It could be a thing where he misses another couple weeks. Debo being hurt right now, McLaurin being hurt right now, and the upcoming schedule next 3 weeks as they're trying to scramble to get this stuff right when they need to desperately. You go to Kansas City, you got Seattle and Detroit. I mean, those have been three of the most impressive, best teams in football this year, and Washington just hasn't.
And they are
been up to
three
that
teams
level.
that pick against your exact weakness, man.
Exactly. They're three really damn good passing attacks. It's just not going to happen for Washington this year. For them to be 3-4 right now with the injuries, with the brutal schedule. It's one of the toughest remaining schedules in football because they've got those world beaters coming up, but then even after that, I mean, they still got 2 games versus Philly. They've got Denver. They've got Minnesota. They just got a lot of quality teams, and they just haven't looked very good. Like, Jaden has been good. He has not been the same as last year. And I did predict something of a sophomore slump for him. Not saying that he's not going to be really good, because I think Jaden is just awesome and is going to continue to be awesome, but also it's a pretty consistent thing that we do see. And sometimes it's like oversimplified, and it's like, oh, well, teams have had a year to see you now and they've got film on you. But I do think that when you are somebody like Jaden who has like an A+ trait like he does with his mobility, that is something that you can lean on immediately to be so effective. And we already saw this adjustment later in last year where people were putting more pressure on him as a drop back passer, and he held up well, and he was still very good, but there were more sacks and there were more turnovers, and it just wasn't the same sort of easy formula that Washington had early in the year. And I think that that has been something we've seen this year. Obviously, also the injuries are not helping here, but the more concerning thing is not the offense. The offense just hasn't been able to take a step up from last year, and it hasn't been as good as last year, but the offense has still been pretty good overall. But the secondary is just awful. Like you said, I mean, they're bottom 5 in net yards per pass allowed. And I think the numbers today are not as bad as the performance actually was, because you've got a couple huge PI penalties that don't show up in terms of passing yards allowed. George Pickens continues to be the GOAT of drawing PI downfield this year because he's just burning everybody deep. Or he's not always burning them, but
The
he
one
just
on
gets a little
Lattimore was kind of
separation at least.
bullshit, though.
You thought so?
Pickens initiated all that. Yeah.
I guess maybe I'd have to go back and rewatch it. I thought there was a lot of contact. Lattimore wasn't playing the ball whatsoever.
I didn't like that call. And then later in the game, there's a Commanders receiver that's going towards the pylon. It literally looks the exact same way.
Well, I thought that should have been PI too. I thought they both should have been PI.
I'm on the inverse. I was on the Commanders side on both of them. Like, I thought Pickens initiated but my thing is, if the logic they're going to go off of is the guy didn't spin his head around, I think you got to call both of them.
I would have called both. But regardless, they're just getting toasted in the secondary. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think this is actually going to happen, but this could happen. Like, if we got a Vontae Davis situation, Marshawn Lattimore just calls it at some point mid-game this year because he's getting burnt so badly. Like, he is that cooked, man. He is absolute food out there.
Had a bad, he went for, dude, he had another bad, that CD touchdown when he tries to go for the, like, bro, I don't get how you've been playing football in this league for that long and you're going for that pick, dude. You got to know it's just a feel thing, man. You're a vet. You don't do that.
They run into each other. And then they started playing the clown music. They started doing like a whole Laurel and Hardy routine where they were stumbling all over each other. Yeah, that was pretty bad, man. And like, Dallas could have put up more points in this game. They end up with 44. They took their foot off the gas. I think they could have kept going. So good passing teams are just going to shred them. The schedule is brutal, and I just don't see how they overcome that when they really haven't done anything impressive this year. So there's a lot of football left. I do think that Washington's year is looking like I expected it to go, honestly. I mean, one of my takes was they were going to miss the playoffs. A lot of these issues stood out to me, and I think they have come to light. For the Cowboys, I don't think there's much we take away from this. Dak is amazing. We know that. Logan, say it. Say it out loud. Dak is amazing.
Dak is amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear you say that. He really is, dude. He really is. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. We're going to go Spider 2, Y Banana, and we're going to just watch Matt Stafford and Dak Prescott, the two OGs in terms of elite quarterbacks right now. Just fucking think the game at such a high level and sling that shit around the football field and be aggressive and do it every week and carry their teams. It's an absolute joy. But also, CD and Pickens are just unguardable out there together. I mean, Pickens has been giving you like top 5 receiver production.
Best
CD's
duo
absence,
in the league.
top
bro.
5 receiver
Best
comes back.
duo in the league.
Probably, man.
People are going to say Smitty and Brown. People will say Jamar and T. I think it's CD and Pickens, man.
Puka and Devontae, too. The advantage that both Puka and Devontae and CD and Pickens have is that they actually have elite quarterbacks throwing them the football. Because it's like Jamar and T right now. I mean, they were fighting the Jake Browning battle. Now they got Flacco. The Eagles, we talk about how many issues they've had throwing the football. So like those guys, they're definitely there in terms of talent. They're not going to be there in terms of production this year. But yeah, George Pickens has been playing like a top 10 receiver this year. So I think that they make a very strong case. He is the best deep threat in football this year outside of JSN. I think he's second in 20-plus yard catches. It's incredible. Like every week he's doing this stuff. But it's also not just Dak amazing. Those two being arguably the best receiving tandem.
The boy Javonte.
Javonte's playing well. The protection has been good. Like, they're just a very awesome all-around offense. There's nothing new learned there. This is the team that came into today scoring 30 points per game and averaging 31 points per game allowed. That's going to remain the case throughout this year. But like you said, they can pour points on anybody. They can win a shootout against anybody. The thing is just they're not going to get a lot of stops. They get a defensive touchdown in this game. But Washington was just all out of sorts. And then Jaden got hurt, and then it was really over.
Number 3 points per game, number 1 in yards per game. Dak, number 2 in yards, TDs, and fewest sacks. And he's number 4 in completion percentage. How about that?
Yeah, I just creamed in my jeans. I just creamed in my little jeans, Logan. Hearing you acknowledge Dakota and what he's doing out there, it makes my heart sing. How about this Packers-Cardinals game, Logan? This was a fun one. It's a down-to-the-wire win for Green Bay in Arizona. This is a Green Bay team that I was peddling a lot of propaganda for, and then everybody got super high on after the first 2 weeks. Since then, it hasn't looked the same. So they get a win today. What do you take away from this one?
This game to me was all about Micah Parsons. He came up big every single spot they needed him. Early in this game, gets a big sack and holds Arizona to a field goal. Later in this game, another big sack ends a drive. And then the biggest one was on the final drive for them. He comes up with another big sack on Brissett and sets up, basically the game-ending series. So, I mean, he made all the difference, I thought, to me in this game. And I continue to be uninspired by these wins by Green Bay. The loss to Cleveland was bad. The win against Cincy was just kind of This win feels very The most concerning thing to me was just some of the coverage we saw in the red zone from Green Bay and throughout this game in general. Trey McBride was way too open all this game. I don't know. You got to do a better job on him. So Green Bay continues to leave a lot to be desired. I thought Jordan Love missed some throws in this game, but they handle business, and the guy that needed to come through came through, Micah Parsons. It's a fucking difference maker, man. I mean, that's why, you moved him up preseason to number 1, and he literally, to me, makes all the difference in this football game for Green Bay. If he isn't on the field, I think Green Bay loses this one.
I had them number 2 preseason. We won't talk about who I had number 1, but yeah, I've been super high on the Packers. I don't think that they've played up to their potential these last few weeks, but I'll tell you the 2 key aspects of this win that do stand out to me. Number 1, as you mentioned, is Micah. This is exactly why every single team in the league that thinks that they have a chance and they're one move away from being a legitimate contender or being the team that's going to win the Super Bowl should be all in anytime an edge rusher of Micah's caliber becomes available, because it's very rare that happens, because I would argue, and we've talked about this before, he is the best pure pass rusher in football right now. I know you'll say Myles Garrett, and I'll say Myles Garrett is the best overall defender, but in terms of pure pass rushing, Micah is tops the league in pressures since he entered. He's tops the league in pressure rate, despite having the highest double team rate. The sack production is the most consistent.
He didn't even mention Nick Bonito.
Nick Bonito is a monster. I absolutely love a little Nick Bonito in my life, but the fucking freak athlete that Micah is, oh my God, dude. You mentioned the clutch pressures and sacks. Like, when you're in the red zone in the fourth quarter and you are single-handedly dismantling what the opposing offense is able to do, like, he won them the football game. It's just an insane performance. It's one of the best defensive performances we've seen from a player this year. He is a guy who ends games on that side of the ball. He is somebody who kills drives. And so often in the NFL today, offenses are so good. We see so many of these late game drives that swing things, and offenses are able to put up points in bunches. And when you have a guy who can just flatten that out and squash it at the start, it's the best thing you can have outside of an elite quarterback. Micah is that guy, and he just raises the ceiling so much for this Green Bay team. If they can really find their rhythm offensively, that's where they need to be more consistent. But the other thing that I really loved from this game was LaFleur going for the kill on 4th and 2. I'm a big LaFleur guy. I think he's great schematically, but I like this a lot as just a football decision, because here's how I see it. If you kick the field goal and you go for the tie, you're giving Arizona the ball back in a tie game, 2.5 minutes left. They have all their timeouts. Average starting field position on a returned kick this year is like the 29.5-yard line. But then you run the risk, of course, of an illegal procedure. If you don't get in the landing zone, a touchback goes straight to the 35. And all Arizona needs is a field goal to win it. So, yes, you would be tied for the moment, but considering all those factors, that feels more like a 70% plus loss probability to me for Green Bay. Like, the Cardinals were averaging 37 yards per drive today. They only probably would have had to go 25, 30 yards to win the game. With all that time, it's just too comfortable a spot to leave them in. But if you go for it on 4th and you get it, you're most likely going to win that football game, obviously, because it's more likely that you're going to get a touchdown once you get a first down that's going to bring you inside the 15 or whatever. But also, regardless, even if you're kicking a field goal, you're taking more time off the clock. Maybe you're forcing them to use some timeouts. And the biggest thing to me is just now you're putting pressure on them. They need to go out there, get a touchdown, stay alive. Obviously, if it works, going for it is the right play, duh. But I'm saying that when you run the cost-benefit analysis, I just don't think being in a tie game, considering all the circumstances, is really as good a position as like maybe conventional football logic would lead you to believe. Like, this whole concept of playing scared to lose, which has plagued football decision-making for so long, and now is being taken out of the picture, except for certain guys. Yeah, it is. It's a dinosaur way of thinking. And by the way, that's what both broadcasters were
I
saying.
was
Both
just about to say, dude, they
like,
both started bugging on him. They both started tweaking. I would kick a field goal. I would kick a field goal here. And then literally they had to like swallow their words 3 seconds later when Jordan Love ripped that ball to Tucker Kraft.
Dude, it's like, really, what is the probability you are getting a flat out stop?
And like you
if you
said,
give them the ball back in a tie game with 2.5 minutes? And then even if you do get a stop, you're not going to be in a good position to actually get the ball back and get a drive of your own. You're already in scoring position. Trust your offense. Go all the way. Not finish the game, but do your job to put yourself in a position to win now.
And it could be like a game-to-game kind of thing, or situationally dependent. You know what I mean? Like, say Green Bay's defense had been getting a ton of stops that game, and it's close. Maybe there I would consider it a little more, but it's like Green Bay's defense had been getting marched on all game long by Jacoby and them, so it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, I'm not going to give them the ball back with 1:50 when it's exactly what happened in the fucking Steeler game against Cincinnati. We played scared. Guess what? I mean, we scored ultimately, but still, man, scared money don't make no money. And you got to have a good offense, and you got to be aggressive in the NFL in 2025, man, or you are going to get dog walked.
I agree. I do think Green Bay has to be more consistent offensively. And the thing that stands out to me is that they're just not running the ball like they were last year. Last year, this was a dominant rushing attack. They were, I think, top 5 in total rushing yards and yards per attempt, and they've been like 20 something in yards per attempt this year. So that's really the foundation of a LaFleur offense. And then everything that you can do off of that, the play action, the shot plays that it opens up, that's where Jordan Love can be really efficient. There's a little bit too much on his shoulders right now for me to love this offensive formula. Nice love play on words. I think that Jordan Love has been good this year. I still don't view him as one of the league's elite quarterbacks. And so at the end of the day, 4-1-1 is a good spot to be in. We just haven't seen dominance out of them since the first 2 weeks at all. We've seen a lot more mediocrity, sneaking by, underwhelming, and they're going to have to come closer to their offensive ceiling if they want to make a deep playoff run, which I totally think they're capable of. I'm still high on the Packers because I see the potential, but we haven't seen them hit that potential recently. For Arizona, I just want to shout out the one and only Jacoby Brissett, professional backup, professional at just stepping up and being really solid. He's just steady, man. He makes pretty good decisions. He also connected on like a couple of really impressive 3rd and longs in this game, but for the most part, obviously Kyler is better, but Jacoby is dependable down to down as a pocket passer in a way
exactly.
that Kyler isn't necessarily. So
I don't know. I mean, I will say Kyler's dealt with a lot of, for some reason, they actually caught the ball today when Jacoby threw it to them instead of forgetting that their hands worked, like when Kyler throws the ball.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I think Marv overall has just found his rhythm after a rough start to the year. I think he's been playing much better as of late, but their season is obviously cooked. They keep taking these really rough, close losses. But shout out to Jacoby Brissett for being ready for the moment. Let's go over to London, Logan, shall we? Jags, Rams. This was a 35-7 victory for LA and Matt Stafford. May he rest in peace. What did you take away from it?
Carson, I'd be chewing the Jags out if I were you, man. That was pretty embarrassing.
Logan, let's just say I'm glad that they don't have cameras in our locker room because I fully stripped naked and I was beating my ass like a baboon and I was just making a bunch of noises.
Make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, that's what I specialize in. I don't personally really know the X's and O's so much. I leave that over to Liam.
You run like a fear-based program?
Well, basically,
your
what
alter
we're
ego
doing is sort of
you're running like a split sort of deal here
situation. Yeah, basically, where they see me and I'm crazy, Liam, and then I give it back to the real guy, and he comes in and he lays the foundation and the scheme and all that, and I come in and I scream like a wild man.
You're his stunt double.
Mostly what I do is I threaten that I'm going to take my own life. I say, guys, if you don't get this cleaned up, this is it for me. I don't have much. I'm hanging on by a thread, and if you guys don't get it together, I'm jumping. I'm jumping right off the London Bridge.
You did that after the Bengals game? That's why they locked in so hard?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm hoping it's going to have a similar effect this time.
I hope so, too.
Maybe it sort of has diminishing returns when you can only threaten it so many times. I don't know. We'll see.
I would just be disappointed if I was a Jags fan. And, don't get me wrong, man. Matt Stafford puts up 5 TDs. It's the most in an international game ever. Shout out the old gunslinger. Parker Washington has a punt return TD that gets brought back by a block in the back penalty. Penalties were a big deal all day today against against Los Angeles. Brian Thomas Jr., I don't get it. I mean, just so many big drops in big spots. That continues to be a problem. Cam Little smokes a 50-yard field goal. Later in the game, there's a holding penalty on Buster Brown that extends a drive for Los Angeles when they get a sack. There's a 4th and 5 where there's a neutral zone infraction that goes to a 4th and 1 that leads to a Ferguson shot play TD. They don't recover an onside kick. I mean, there's just so many little things, dude, that just – you got to get them in shape, Carson. You got to get them in shape, man. Look, I don't think they were going to win this game. I just don't think they played well enough. There are too many self-inflicted wounds, but they could have made it close. This could have been a 2 TD, 1 TD sort of game. It didn't have to be this kind of ass kicking.
Logan, when was the last time you saw a game that ended 35-7 and the team that had 7 points had 87 more yards per play, and somehow also no turnovers? That's what happened with the Jags. So I'm a West Coast lad. All right, fine. I wasn't in London. You guys got me. I'm not actually Liam Cohen. You guys got me. I just think he's incredibly attractive. And so I wish that I could be Liam Cohen, but I can't. I'm just me. But as a West Coast guy, I wasn't up immediately for the kickoff. I got up when it was 14-0 Rams. From that point forward, the Jags, for the most part, felt like the better team and kind of controlled the game in the sense that they were putting together more consistently good drives. Like the Rams had the touchdown to make it 21-0. But then after that, I think the next 4 drives where one team got in scoring position, it was the Jags. They had 4 straight drives like that, and they came away from those 4 drives with a grand total of 0 points. So there's just so many ways in which the execution fails them in this game, particularly in key moments. This is a bad loss for the Jags, who I've been an advocate for, who I do like, but the frustrations with them remain the same, and they really came to a head in this one, where some of the foundational elements are very good. I do believe the Jags are a very well-coached team. I think Liam Cohen is a really good play caller offensively. I think that Campanelli has done a really nice job in terms of the defensive scheme here. There is talent on this football team, but they are a bad execution team right now. Too often, the play is there to be made, and they miss it. That's kind of the most consistent frustration with the Jags team. They have the worst drop problem I've ever seen. BTJ is like absolutely top of the list here, but Johnny Munt has a bad drop on what should have been a free first down. Parker Washington has a terrible drop, and it's been over and over again. Over the years, this has been a thing, but we talked about this earlier where like the guy who has been cost by far the most EPA by teammate drops is Trevor Lawrence. It just remains such a pervasive issue. It's not getting better, but then also T-Law is absolutely not exempt from criticism here because he's inconsistent. He can be inaccurate. He misses a couple of throws in this game, a couple of like should be layups, an open receiver. He just misses really high. He misses a screen pass that's well set up. Like too many plays that just flat out should be converted, that they are in position to convert. They do not. And then they've got way too many penalties. They've been a high penalty team all year. 13 for 119 yards in this game is ridiculous, though. They go 3 of 15 on third down, 2 of 6 on fourth down. As I mentioned, 4 straight drives into scoring range that resulted in 0 points. Like they just did not make the key plays they needed to win this game. That is 100% what it comes down to. You look at all of these bottom line numbers that I read out earlier, yardage, yards per play, turnovers, whatever. And you're like, how could this possibly have been a blowout for the
best
Rams?
28-point loss ever?
But like, that's also kind of the worst because it's penalties. It's being so bad on third and fourth down. It's being bad in the red zone. That's it. That's the difference in this game. The one other thing that I would point out that we've seen be an issue for the Jags offense these last couple weeks as they've struggled more is you can't put this much pressure on T-Law in the passing game. Like when this offense has looked at its best, it has started with the dominant run game. This week, T-Law had 55 dropbacks and he had 7 sacks on those 55 dropbacks. Last week, he had 49 dropbacks, 7 sacks. So when they have faced a couple of great pass rushes, and particularly if they get into a deficit and so they feel like they get into the mode where they have to start throwing a lot, it can be more of a struggle for them to mitigate that pressure. And ultimately, like the passing attack just isn't consistent enough in any way. T-Law isn't consistent enough delivering the ball, making decisions, and the receivers literally are not consistent enough at catching the football.
I do think they found something today by exclusively running Travis Hunter at wide receiver. I mean, I think that's something they need to do the rest of the year. Like he is a difference maker. I think he's the best wideout on this team. Like I feel like they're wasting his abilities a little bit at corner. Like he's not the greatest tackler anyway. You know what I mean? He's more of a playmaker. Like get the ball in his hands, let him do some work, let him solely focus on one thing. And I think his biggest strength and contribution to this team is what he can bring offensively.
I completely agree. There's been kind of this struggle for him to really find his groove throughout the year up to this point. This was the best game that he's had. I did think that he flat out looked like a playmaker. So that's the positive takeaway in this one. But I do think they really need to lean on the run game when they can. And if they do find themselves in a hole, I just worry about them having to lean on the passing game too much. every aspect of it is just a little bit too inconsistent. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a big part of that. I've never seen anything quite like this, Logan. I have never seen somebody have one of the great rookie receiving seasons we've seen and then crumble in year 2. Brian Thomas Jr. has been like one of the most destructive players to a team's offense that I've watched this year. It's so many of the terrible drops. It is this continued obvious fear of going over the middle where he totally shies away from contact and basically just curls up into a ball and lays down on the ground. Like, it's crazy. I've never seen a football player this deep in their own head. And he's had a couple of better games, but he absolutely has not worked his way through this whatsoever. So I don't know when this gets better. We're 7 weeks deep. It's still a massive problem. But I was counting on this getting better at some point. You know, when I'm doing my Jags optimism, I'm like, yeah, at some point, Travis Hunter's going to hit his stride and Brian Thomas Jr. is going to stop having his major mental problems. And that just hasn't happened. It's stayed really bad. So I like some stuff with the Jags. I'm still going to ride with the boys, but this was definitely an ugly loss for them. And I thought they had an opportunity to win this game because Puka was out. But Matt Stafford would be my MVP pick up to this point. I believe he's now second in passing yards this year. I think that Dak overtook him, but he's got 17 touchdowns.
No, I think Stafford's one.
Is he still?
I think Stafford's one. I think Prescott's two. I think
you corrected me in the nerdiest way possible there. You went,
well, no. I think Stafford's number one in TDs too, though.
He is number one in TDs.
He's number one in both.
And the crazy part is he's dead. We've never seen a dead man slinging the rock like this, but it wasn't like his best game today, but he did still have 5 touchdowns without Puka.
Super efficient. Yeah.
Spreading the wealth. And he's been so great all year. He is just an absolute monster. So the Rams did their thing. One of the best quarterbacks in football was slinging it around the yard. Their elite pass rush got 7 sacks. They're an awesome football team.
Cornerbacks look better today. Quentin Lake and I thought Kella Witherspoon had some big plays.
It does help whenever the offense has a chance at a chunk play, they actually just drop the ball, though. That does help. But the Rams are very good, and they took care of business against a more inconsistent team. Okay, the rest of these games, Logan, pretty much suck. So we'll do some very quick takeaways from Patriots-Titans. Give me one thing that stood out here.
It really just both about the quarterbacks. I feel like they're still the biggest stories for both of these teams. For New England, they got a stud. I think everybody's seen the stat that's going around today. May broke the single game completion percentage mark by a New England quarterback. Anytime you're breaking a record set by the immaculate Tom Brady, you know, it's great. It's great. Brian Hoyer,
Steve Grogan,
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Matt Gutierrez, maybe.
Rohan Davey.
Oh, yeah. Cliff Kingsbury.
I was about to say Kingsbury. Damn, look at us. In a pod.
This is the part where we kiss.
Is it?
Anyways, May's the man. Drake May's a stud. What he's been able to do with this receiving room, they got a competent receiver in Diggs. On the inverse, people pump the brakes on the Cam Ward hate, please. I can just see it, and like they're doing the shit where, dude, they have like Stockholm syndrome of Will Levis, and I'm like, guys, one bad Cam Ward play does not make a Will Levis kind of low light reel. Like, I get it. That was a cartoony turnover. Pretty funny, where it's like you could literally
where'd the ball go?
Put the Benny Hill music behind that. Yeah. Just, it's bad. Cam's going to be fine, guys. You know, I think it's mechanical, footwork, all the little stuff. I think Cam is too talented. He's going to figure it out. But I don't know, man. I'm just seeing people shit on the kid. And it's like, bro, they sent him to football purgatory, and he's been there 7 weeks, man. Let's let him breathe a little bit.
I agree. They're the worst roster in football. We all knew that. They were the worst roster and team in football last year. So, yes, it's been kind of a crazy experience, and he's got to make quicker decisions. The sacks have to come down. He's got to cut down on the turnovers. But these are the exact things that I would expect the very physically gifted quarterback who is in a horrible offensive situation to be struggling with. I still think as a playmaker, as an arm talent, there's so much upside there. It's way too quick to make any like definitive judgments about Cam Ward in this.
That throw to DK today was beautiful. That was a dot.
I couldn't hear what you said there, Logan, but I'm sure it was genius. Now, I want to talk about the other quarterback in this game.
Yes.
Because I'll take it even further, Logan. Drake May is a stud, tired. We've all already been there, and we all know that. Drake May should be a top MVP candidate. Now, that's a take.
I mean, I said that, last week?
Well, I'm saying it right now,
I don't know.
live on the air.
Do you think any of these guys don't belong in this pack? Because my hierarchy would include Taylor, Robinson, Mahomes, Stafford, Darnold, May, Dak, Mayfield.
Get the running backs out of there. No, you can have Jonathan Taylor somewhere on the outskirts of the top 5. I'll tell you who I think my top 3 would be at this point. I would go Stafford 1. Then I might go May 2. And then he's been so damn consistent.
I would say Taylor
with such mediocrity around him.
Taylor, Stafford, Darnold, May in some sort of order.
I think I would go Mahomes 3, and then I would go Darnold, and then I would go Taylor. This leaves Dak out of it, but I am still a little bit team record pilled for MVP. Like, I do think you have to be on a really good team. The Chiefs are only 4-3. The Cowboys are 3-1. Ultimately, Logan, we're still 2 weeks away from our beautiful midseason award show. We need to save the content, but Drake May is firmly in those conversations. I just don't know how you can keep him out of them. Like, having the Patriots where they are, 5-2, and being so consistently elite individually. Like, right now, this season, he is the only quarterback ever to complete 71% of his passes, average 8.5 yards per pass attempt, and average 25 rushing yards per game. Like, the combination of elite accuracy, elite explosiveness, hitting on these big passing plays where he's number 1 in deep passing, EPA per attempt. He's towards the top in intermediate. Like, he is slinging the ball downfield and still completing an extremely high percentage of his passes, extremely high yards per attempt, and he's making plays on the move with his legs. It's just crazy. The accuracy all over the field is ridiculous, man. The ball placement on deep balls, on back shoulder throws, like anywhere. He just doesn't miss throws. And he also doesn't make bad decisions. And he's a 23-year-old freak athlete. Like, he is so far ahead of the curve, man. You think about the conversations we're having about Caleb, and we're still talking about theoreticals and the physical tools are there, but this, and that have to be ironed out and way more consistent. Like, this is already a dude who is playing at an elite level, who I think is stamped as a top 10 quarterback, who this year has been playing like one of the 5 best quarterbacks on the planet, very arguably. And I think we're looking at a future MVP. And I think he should already be in those conversations. Every single week, he is going out there and balling out with a consistency and a completeness at the quarterback position that is extremely rare. And to be doing it at his age with the offensive pieces he still has around him, he's making me like a little Kayshon Boutte in my life. He's making me like a little Pop Douglas, who, by the way, had a fucking snag on the one throw that Drake May did miss today. He's reviving Stephon Diggs. He's got this kind of ridiculous running back situation, not in a good way, and a below average offensive line. And like, he's still elevating this team to a spot where I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and Drake May is going to be the reason for that. So I'm just going to continue to be a Drake May truther. I think that he is exceptional. And I still don't know if there's enough glaze going on around for what he's doing in year 2. It's crazy. And he is the young quarterback in the NFL who I would take to start my franchise with, if we're drawing that line at the last couple of draft classes. But let's talk about the guy who did go number 1 in 2024, Logan. Caleb Williams and the Bears get a win over the Saints. Real quick, what'd you take away from this?
This was unfortunately the Rattler come back to earth game. I was getting really high on the Rad Man, and it was ugly. I had a fumble very early in the game that they lost. Had some interceptions later. Had an interception that was dropped by Kevin Byard that almost looked identical to the other one that he threw to them. Threw a really bad interception to Tremaine Edmonds where there were 4 defenders in the area. I still like Rattler like a little bit, but I'm definitely lower on him. I like Kellen Moore. I like him as a play caller. Saints stink though, and unfortunately, I think the Rad Man is probably not long to be a starter in this league.
Wow. So quick to fucking pull the plug, Logan.
I
The
mean,
guy has one bad game.
I think he's going to start the rest of this year, and then he's probably going to be a backup, somewhere else
You've always
next year.
had contempt for him, Logan. You said he would never even make it to be in
I
the
didn't think he
NFL.
would be. I was surprised that a team drafted him. I thought it was a waste of a draft pick at the time.
You said a young man, John, like that? No way. Not where you come from.
I wouldn't have drafted him. Nah, I wouldn't have.
You said you'd set him straight. You'd wash his mouth out with soap. I said,
if he had a dirty mouth, yeah, bruh.
Well, I think that's what you were saying he had. But regardless, I think Rattler's been pretty solid overall this year.
This game,
he's not going to be a franchise quarterback. Yeah, it was a really bad game, but like overall, there's pretty good accuracy there. He tends to not be reckless with the football. He's a good athlete, moves well. I think he's fine. But yeah, the Saints do suck, and he's not like the
Bears
guy.
Ran all over him.
Well, that was my takeaway from this game, and my only takeaway, really. I just love seeing Chicago get the run game going, man. 367 yards on the ground over the last 2 weeks, 5.5 yards per carry. That's good old-fashioned Smath-Moush football. That's Ben Johnson football. That's Midwestern football, and I love to see it because that's going to be really the key to their outside path to a playoff push, in my opinion. I don't think the Bears are that good, even though they've won 4 straight. But the best thing that they can do for Caleb is give him a great run game to lean on a bit more, take something off his plate. And that's been really clicking over the last couple of weeks. We'll have to see them do it against better defenses, but that's been the most encouraging aspect of this hot streak for Chicago in my eyes. Speaking of number 1 overall picks, Logan, Bryce Young got a win for the Panthers today over the winless Jets. What'd you take away from this one?
Not a ton. I think the Jets are the second worst team in football. I said they weren't the worst, but I do think they're the second worst behind Tennessee. Those J.C. Horn interceptions were crazy. That one-handed pick he had in the end zone on Tyrod, and then the other one, that was nuts. I just had a one. This is the third worst start to a season in Jets history, so shout out Aaron Glenn joining Adam Gase, and I believe Richie Kotite, or maybe it might have been Al Groh, but I think it was Richie Kotite.
I'll get my research team on that.
Is this the end for Justin Fields, Carson? Is this the end of the line, man?
Well, when you get benched for T-Mobile in the big 2025, it's not good.
It's definitely not good. I mean, what really sucked is I just kind of had a thought when I saw Tyrod drop back the first time, and I just went, wow. Tyrod is so much better as a drop-back passer than Justin Fields. And that's just really sad when we're in year, 6? We're in year 5 or 6 of Justin Fields as a quarterback, and you just don't trust him to – like, it really says something when Tyrod steps in and he's making more throws downfield than you, bro. Tyrod Taylor is literally captain check down. And when you feel like the offense is more dynamic with him, I don't know, man. I liked Fields in Pittsburgh. He looked good last year in Pittsburgh. He won us games. He completed a high percentage of his balls. He didn't turn the ball over. He had a lot of yardage lost in George Pickens' defensive pass interference calls that he drew. But damn, man. I wonder if this is it for him and if he is just relegated to backup status the rest of his career.
I think it's over for Fields. He is just so insanely limited as a processor, as an actual passer. Some of the stat lines this year, dude. I mean, he went 3 of 11 against the Bills for 27 yards. Obviously, last week he had the net negative passing yards performance because he had 45 passing yards, but then he lost more sack yardage than he accrued through the air. And then this one, it was another just inept passing performance before they pulled the plug. I think it was the right call to bench him. I think that Tyrod gives them a better chance to win right now. It is ever so marginal, but I would rather just have the professional, competent pocket passer who can read a defense. It's never going to happen for Fields. It is officially over. I never thought that he was going to get figured out to be like a franchise guy. I thought that he could get it figured out to be like a decent spot starter, though, and maybe him being a bridge quarterback for 2 years for the Jets wasn't going to be the worst thing. And now it kind of seems like the worst thing because they got to pay this guy $20 million for the next 2 years. And They've just got to eat that. I don't care that they owe Fields for another year. They've got to draft a quarterback this year. There's a real chance they're going to be picking number one, and they're an atrocious football team. And that's really all that there is to say about it. On the flip side, the Carolina Panthers are 4-3. And to that, I say good for them. It is
Dave Canales, man.
Strange. Yeah, shout out to Canales. I do think this game said way more about the Jets, but also look at the last couple weeks. It's like Carolina showed enough offensively to eke out wins over Miami, eke out a win over Dallas, where they had to put up
hell
points.
out of the ball.
Well, that's the thing. That's the exciting thing for Carolina. That's the only thing that I can get legitimately excited about. Other than that, I do think they've gotten past some very flawed teams. They're still not good. The next 6 games before the bye, they are going to face Buffalo, Green Bay, Atlanta, the Niners, and the Rams. I think they lose all those games, and I think we're probably looking at them as like a 5-8 team, and the excitement is going to fizzle. I just still don't see what they do well as a football team other than running the football. But Bryce is still so inconsistent. The defense is still very uninspiring to me. I mean, they faced arguably the worst offense in football today, so it's tough to really take away anything from the defensive performance on that one. I'm happy for Panthers fans that they have a winning record right now. That's got to be fun. I'm still pretty pessimistic about the outlook overall this year, but I didn't think that they would be above 500 7 games into the year. So I give them credit for that. Browns, Dolphins, Logan. What the hell is there to say?
It's got to be the last game that Mike McDaniel coaches, right?
You're going to take him out?
This is it. I mean, I think they're going to give him the call the way they gave Brian Callahan the call, man. I wonder if tomorrow morning when we wake up, if we just get word that this is it. I don't know. That he looked like a guy whose spirit and soul had been broken. And obviously this has been like a little bit more slow and methodical this year. Like it's just kind of happened week over week and been stacking. Damn. Tua sucks. Tua sucks, dude.
He's the worst, man. He's the worst.
Wow.
He might be the literal worst.
I mean,
he might be the worst quarterback in football.
You take him out of the dome, you put him in Cleveland. Oh, what a meltdown. Like,
he's so horrible. He got benched.
Like, I don't even know what to say about, like, again, man, I think Mike's going to be a good offensive coordinator somewhere. Somebody's going to get a steal. Right? I don't know where it is. He's going to get paired up. I was thinking maybe Tennessee. Like, maybe Tennessee should take a swing on him with Cam Ward. Like, give him a legitimate quarterback.
As OC, you're saying, or as head coach?
As OC. I think I think the ship has sailed on head coach, but I think OC with like a, because I know he's got to be frustrated with coaching Tua, man. Tua is just so limited. Like he's a guy that you have to overcome. And again, I know he can have good games. It's never like that. What I mean when I say that is you get him off that first read, you throw off his timing, you make him do anything extracurricular, and the house of cards comes tumbling down.
Logan, I don't think you need to do any explaining at this point. I think the Tua defenders, I think Tua and On, they're all in a bunker somewhere, and they've all got their ears covered, and they're watching 2023 and 2022 regular season Tua highlights from games against bad teams. Like, it's so bad. I really might bench him. My only hesitation for that is that the Dolphins always have the worst fucking backup quarterbacks in football. I don't know why now Quinn Ewers was elevated above Zach Wilson. There's no way Quinn Ewers is better than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson also sucks, though. So it's like maybe it ends up being even worse for team morale if you pull the plug. But I think Tua playing like this and leading the way he's leading is absolutely horrific for team morale. This should unequivocally be his last year as a starter in the NFL. And he's still going to be getting paid big money beyond this year. But he's just so horrible, dude. I mean, Miami went 1 of 13 on third down today. He had 3 picks, and they are the worst picks in football. Like, this has been a standout thing with Tua for a while. We talk about 2 ways in which his turnovers stand out. Number one, they tend to come in bunches. They compound. He has these absolute disaster games, and he has the ugliest picks in football. And I think a big reason for that is he is so damn limited in terms of the sort of plays that he can make. He gets so overwhelmed by pressure, and his arm is so weak that in some of these really bad spots, he just like kind of floats the ball to a predetermined spot. And a lot of the time there's a defender right there who says, thank you very much. Like, the thing with Tua has always been, The accuracy is good. The anticipation, the timing within 2.5 seconds of the snap, when everything goes according to plan, he's good at that. He's terrible at everything else. Eventually, that is going to rear its ugly head. It's rearing its ugly head all the fucking time right now. He has 11 turnovers. That leads the NFL. He's averaging 187 passing yards per game, 6.4 yards per attempt. Those are his lowest since his rookie year. Like, he's really up there for the worst starting quarterback in football right now. And it goes beyond that because it's not just destructive in terms of his literal limitations as a football player. It seems like the other players are done with him. There was this whole weird press conference debacle where he was like, guys aren't taking it seriously enough. Guys are showing up late to players only meeting.
Well, he doesn't really seem like he's good at taking accountability either up at the podium, man.
No, not at all. And then his quote, I believe this was today, was like, regardless of if I throw 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions, I get to go back to my kids who love me at the end of the day. And it's like, look, man, that's a healthy enough mentality for you to have for your own personal sanity.
Exactly. Anytime you're resorting to a consolation shit like that, you lost, man.
All it says to the people who are listening is that you are basically indifferent. That's how it comes across. Like, again, man, Tua, I don't want you to be miserable in your personal life, but I do want you to be driven. I do want you to be motivated and hungry and strive to be better and not be okay with a terrible performance. Again, I don't want it to ruin your life, but I also don't want you to necessarily have the best night's sleep ever and not think about it again going forward and not think about what you need to do better going forward. And that just seems like that's the mentality. Seems like everything is just so fucked with Miami's culture right now. Like, everybody is just 1 foot out the door, and it makes sense because they're horrible. And this has been building. They've been regressing, but wow, it has hit rock bottom.
If they were to hold on to him, he has the 7th biggest cap hit of any player in the NFL over the next 2 seasons. And then in the final year of his contract, he has the 4th biggest cap hit in the NFL. That being said, I think this is the inevitable. They do have an out in his contract after the 2026 season where they would have to eat 35 dead mil in cap, but I think that is a much better option than trying to ride it out. I think he starts next year. You probably built the stinker team around him, trade off some of the assets that you got, like a Waddle, guys that aren't going to make, I don't know, maybe you hold on to Waddle, but guys who aren't going to make this new iteration of your team in 2027, that should be the window that you're shooting for and building for that year. But good win for Cleveland. I thought Quinshon Judkins looked really good.
Yeah, Judkins is really good, and Achane is a monster. So there was a lot of ugliness in this game, but the running back play was really good. I don't think they can possibly start Tua next year. I understand they have to pay him $50 million.
I mean, what do you mean? Like,
or not?
You just think, like, team-wise, you would already lose the locker room?
I think absolutely it's already been lost. I think they're at the point where, like, this season, they might have to yank him very soon. I don't know how you run it back next year and you say, okay, guys, Tua's our man. It's just totally run its course.
You don't think the owner would force you to play him?
The contract?
I just think if you're paying a guy that much, you kind of got to play him. They don't really have a better option, do they?
Falcons are paying Kirk a lot of money, and they drafted a quarterback, and they're starting that young guy.
Yeah, but, like, that was always the plan for Penix to usurp Kirk, you know? Like,
well, maybe you got to change your plan, Miami, because it's not fucking working out so well, is it? Plan A wasn't exactly a smashing success. You're up there for the worst team in football, and you've way overcommitted to your quarterback. I think it's better to pivot sooner rather than later. Get out of here with that sunken cost fallacy bullshit. You can pay him to ride the bench. It's better to pay him to ride the bench than pay him to destroy the entire culture and morale and on-field results of your football team. Get a rook in there. Take a chance. They need to get this figured out, and it's not going to be with any of, like, the current key dudes in the picture. I think we're talking about a full-on house cleaning, and Achane, Waddle, those guys are really good. They're young. They're good weapons, so maybe they stick around, or maybe they get traded for pretty handsome payoffs. We'll see. I could see that going either way. But yeah, you lose to the Browns, who are terrible, by 25, and they only had 200 yards. That's over, man. It's over. That's the nail in the coffin if they ever needed one. Well, there you go. We covered every game. Let's get to some super chat, see what the people have to say. Verde says, Drake May, you're cooking. You've made a salient point, and I agree with it completely.
Drake
Kare says, Bo Nix.
The boner. The
The
boner.
boner. Do you believe, Logan? Are you believing?
He gave me the boner.
Well, don't be perverse about it. I'm just trying to ask you about a football player. Shout out to Bo. Came up clutch today. Kaylee says, I predicted Daniel Jones, by the way, parentheses clairvoyant. W.
True.
Prediction. I did not whatsoever. So shout out to Danny Dimes. He is hooping. Evil Crisis, thank you for your generous donation to the NerdSesh Foundation. You say Bo is way too inconsistent and will get himself in a
Supernova,
hole
close your ears.
he
Close
can't
your
get out
ears.
of come playoffs. Also, Daniel's struggles are outside of supporting cast. Are teams having more film on him and the Kingsbury Cliff?
I think I think that's a component, but I also think Jaden's been dinged up and injured, and I think that's playing a factor too.
I think we talked about this. I think that defenses do have a better understanding of how they should approach the Commanders' offense as a whole now. I do still think Jaden is sick. I think he's going to get right and be one of the best quarterbacks in football. It's not that surprising to me that he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump. It's not surprising at all, honestly. On the Bo front, I do completely agree. I completely agree. I still don't view the Broncos as a team that is going to scare anybody come playoffs. I don't know how a win like this over the Giants could. Like I said, shout out, a win is a win in the NFL. Survive in advance. It helps you in the standings. But I just think their offense is way too flawed, and I think Bo is at the root of a lot of that. I mean, accuracy, inconsistencies, major issues dealing with pressure. These are the same things that recur. Yaya says, being a fan of both May and Caleb really hurts. It's like Caleb is the bad younger brother and Drake May is the well-behaved older brother. When will he catch up? I'm going to go cry now.
Wouldn't cry. Caleb's going to figure it out. Caleb's going to be all right. Like, he's got, obviously, I think Drake is more refined right now. I think he's ready to win now, and I think he's just a better quarterback right now. But Caleb's going to be all right. I save your tears, man.
Yeah, here's what I would say. If you've ever seen the show Drake and Josh, in that show, Drake is the cooler brother. Things still turn out for Josh, and actually Drake ends up being a pedo. That's not canon in the show, but that does happen after the show. And then he changes his name because he becomes very popular as an artist in Mexico, and he becomes Drake Campana. So
who is Megan in this scenario? Jaden Daniels.
Miranda Cosgrove still. I think that she's still in this universe. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're Crazy Steve.
Correct. And who's like a really big freak and like a really bad guy in Drake and Josh? Who's like a really bad?
Oh, like the movie theater thug. I'm the movie theater thug.
I've never really watched Drake and Josh. I'm just trying to fit in. I really don't know much about the program.
I could be the movie theater thug, bro.
Matt says, talk about Greer. How long? Since 2015.
Will Greer?
It's like, are we talking about Will Greer?
Virginia?
West Virginia legend and Carolina Panthers legend? Who else is Greer? Is this some sort of coded message? This is an awesome message, dude, because I have no idea.
Shut up,
Matt.
I
think he's talking about Chris Greer. That makes way more sense.
Oh,
yes.
It does.
Yeah, he's terrible. Dolphins. Yeah, he's terrible.
Kaylee, how do you know about the Drake? That is such a nasty shout. That's the worst song ever made, the Drake Bell Gucci Gang cover.
I've never had the pleasure of having that grace my ears.
You should not listen to it. It's the worst song ever made.
Well, doesn't surprise me. Sounds pretty terrible. A lot like Chris Greer and a lot like Will Greer in the NFL. Catching a stray, but he was not cut out for it, Logan. If you're not cut out for the big leagues, you know who's going to say it straight to your fucking face? Us here at NerdSesh. Straight shooters, guys who lay it all out there, balls to the wall, and we don't take no crap, man. That's what I always say. We don't take no crap. We tell it how it is, and that's the juice, and that's the news, and that's the good stuff. And that was today's episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, you know where to find us. Logan, what starts in 2 days? What starts in 2 days? What starts in 2 days?
Basketball.
Yeah, it does, dude. Holy shit, I'm excited. We've still got to give our award predictions. We've still got to give our official playoff finals predictions. That's all coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And we know that we'll have a bunch of content for opening week in the NBA, but we're not forgetting about the NFL. We'll see you guys next Sunday night, as we do every Sunday night, with very few exceptions. Only one more exception the rest of the year, I promise. I'm almost positive. So you can find all of those full episodes, NBA and NFL, across our YouTube channel. You can listen to all of them across all audio platforms. And you can follow us across social media, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at @nerd_sesh to see clips from the show, graphics from the show, and all of our short form trivia content. And you can join our Discord if you want to be part of our community over there and chat with the gang. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. Hope that you enjoyed another week of NFL action. And as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was NerdSesh.